See, this ain't gonna work.
Where the fish gone, though?
But how, though?
Don't leave our children with no fish in their future. Protect our sea. Protect our way of life. Protect the Bahamas. To learn how you can help, find us on Facebook at Bahamas Protected. See the future.
I'm here at the Dixon Hill Lighthouse in San Salvador to let you know that marine protected areas make dollars and cents. A well-designed and managed network of protected areas can generate income for nearby communities. From MPA managers to lodges to eco-tours, there is money to be made.
Healthy marine ecosystems help to protect our islands from climate change and other impacts that we cannot control. Healthy coral reefs help to break down fake waves, and mangroves absorb storm surge and help to protect our coastline.
Older and larger fish tend to carry more and healthier eggs.
You're watching the ZNS Network, the People's Station.
I am committed to building the kind of future you deserve. But I can't do this alone. West Grand Bahama and Bimini, I need you.
This is the moment.
As your next member of parliament for West Grand Bahama and Bimini, it's time to mark the X and let's go to the polls.
No one stood up to these people. Now they're going to have a real voice standing up for them in the House of Assembly and in this community.
We need different, we need dynamic, we need someone to represent the youth and the children of this nation.
The only thing that matters is what the residents say, and there's no limit on what we can say or what we carry to the House.
Voters will decide who represents them over the next 3 years. The race to the seat, West Grand Bahama and Bimini, starts now.
Smith, Grant, Bain, Swain, and Burroughs. Who will 6,000 plus voters elect to represent their interests for the next 3 years? Are they satisfied with what they have or opt for change? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our live broadcast of the West Grand Bahama and Bimini by-election. I'm Akush Lapinder, and joining me in studio this evening is the Northern Service's very own Ricardo Grant. Ricardo, I'm on your turf tonight, so, you know.
Well, Ricardo Lightborn is here with you to show you and take you straight through. So we get the last one, count it.
Sounds good. We also have with us Levon Miller, who's a political analyst and host of the new ZNS show, Unleashed, which airs in the new year. So, Levon, thanks for joining both Ricardo and myself tonight on this D-Day of the West Grand Bahama and Bimini by-election. And, you know, we have 5 candidates, like we said, just 1 woman, but you never know how things will shape up with these things. 2 independents, the coalition, we don't really consider them an independent, they're a movement. They say they are. So we have the 2 big boys, a movement, and 2 independent candidates all vying for just 1 seat in Parliament. Tonight, though, helping us out with this coverage, we have team coverage for you. We have our Romiko Knowles at the PLP headquarters. We have our Devontae Hanna at the Progressive Liberal Party headquarters. Jay Philippe is with the Coalition of Independents, and Aja Quant in Bimini. With the independents are Julanda Thompson-Everest and Raven Davis at the Parliamentary Registration Department. Levon Miller, the votes are in. Nothing more that can be done at this point.
Not at this point.
You were out earlier on the ground. Give us some idea of what you saw.
Well, Makushla, you know, we went out today. We wanted to go and get the temperature on the ground, and what we saw depends on where we saw it, right? And so we got into the Holmes's Rock area. We got into the Jonestown area. The voter turnout was very low when we were down there. And that was about maybe 2-3 hours. Let me also say that there were no encumbrances. Like, today was a perfect day to vote. It was cool and moderately breezy. There wasn't excessive sun. There was absolutely no rain. There were clear skies. You know, so Mama could have go out and vote at high noon. So could Pookie, right? Could go out and vote at high noon. But we didn't see the turnout there as heavy in Jonestown when we were down there. You know, comparably different when we got down into West End. When we got into Poland, I think it's Poland divisions number 1, 2, and 3. Right. You notice that there is a swell of people, and they are all wearing their party colors. So it was definitely much different.
We're going to come back to that voter turnout as it stands. We're going to go to our team coverage, and we're going to begin for you tonight with Rumiko Knowles, who's at the PLP headquarters, as indicated earlier. Rumiko, how are things looking?
Thanks, guys. Well, the scene at the Sea Grape headquarters here in 8 Mile Rock is not quite as active as yet, but there are a few supporters on the ground who are expressing confidence that Kingsley Smith will emerge as the next member of parliament for West Grand Bahama and Bimini. In fact, if my cameraman can just pan to the left, you can see that there is a stage being set up at this moment. I spoke to the stage men and those who were setting up the stage, and they said that they were informed to set the stage up in preparation for what they heard will be a victory party here tonight at the Sea Grape headquarters. And of course, we will be here to capture that action for you. I am live on the ground and I'm waiting to see what happens. Back to you guys in studio.
Oh, Ricardo, we see that, you know, the polls have only just closed, but the PLP is already, I think we need a stronger word than confident of a win, and this despite what we heard Lee Van saying earlier of low voter turnout.
And see, that's where now everyone's on pins and needles. So it's all about numbers now, and that's why everybody's waiting to get those numbers, and then once they get those numbers, then you'll see the movement, and you'll see the repercussion from whatever results come out of the polls in that area.
Well, that's just the PLP's perspective. Our Devontae Hanna is standing by at the F&M headquarters. Devontae, how are things looking down there?
We are Free National Movement headquarters in the 8
Oh, we'll come back to our Devontae Hanna there. The race, of course, is not just a West Grand Bahama-centric race. Of course, there is Bimini in this Twin Island constituency. And holding down Bimini for us is our Aja Quant, who has a bird's eye view of what's taking place over there. Asha?
Good evening, Rick and Makushla. We are coming to you live outside of the command center here at the George Weish complex in Bimini, where the atmosphere is charged with anticipation as the polling division's doors have closed and the results will be coming in shortly. Now, the stakes today were very high as residents gather to determine who their next member of parliament will be. We also spoke with Island Administrator Eva K. Arthur, who confirmed that over 1,700 voters were expected to turn out today. However, we cannot confirm that number at this time. Again, while the polling divisions have closed and the votes are currently being counted, residents eagerly await for the announcement of the results happening right here on the ZNS network. Again, coming to you live outside of the command center in the George Weish complex. I'm Azure Quant. Back to you in Grand Bahama.
Oh, Rick and Levon, speaking of votes being counted, you know, you could declare a victory all you want ahead of that recount and counting, but it's anyone's guess how those votes will stack up. As it stands, we can tell you what the reality is on the ground is that as the PLP has 32 seats in the House of Assembly, the F&M has 7. That can all change, however, based on the outcome of tonight. And it can change in terms of, well, It can stay the same with the PLP retaining the West Grand Bahama and Bimini seat, or it can shift where the Free National Movement picks up a seat and the makeup then be 31-8. It could also change in terms of the makeup being 31, 7, and 1, which will leave us with independent in the House of Assembly for the first time in a very long time.
Well, I want to say this, Makushla, based on what I saw on the ground today, and of course you won't ever know until all of the ballots are counted, but just based on what I saw from the machinery, the only place I suspect that you will see the number 3171 is in the 4-ball tonight. I don't suspect you will see that anywhere else. But I do know that it is a race to watch with what will happen with the Coalition of Independents. While I was on the ground today, what I noticed was that the Coalition of Independents somehow had supporters at almost all of the polling divisions. The supporters were in place. They were not anxious to leave. They didn't seem to be distracted by anything. They were like diligent foot soldiers, right? And so I wonder now, what does that translate into, right? Because they may not win, but as we've seen in the case of North Abaco in just the most recent election, the COI may be enough to stop you from getting to the Super Bowl.
Right. They may not win, but they may garner enough votes to send a clear and strong message to both of the political giants. It may send a message to both that political machinery needs to be tightened up. It needs to be strengthened in the remaining 3 years going into a general election. Because like you said, the coalition, it gained traction in the 2021 election. No one thought the coalition would have gained that many votes.
Right.
But it
9,000
did.
plus, actually.
It did. And it actually split the votes between the two big boys. So that says a lot. What is also important, though, is what you noted in terms of voter turnout. Here we are at a next election, another election, where voter turnout is low. And the former Prime Minister Perry Christie, he lamented the fact that it happened in the 2021 election. And here we are with just a by-election and 6,000+ voters. A mere fraction of our voting population seems not to feel the need to turn out and vote for the candidate of their choice.
Well, after being on the ground today, Makushla and Rick, for what I would say was the better part of about 6 hours, even if I had a clicker, at no time do I think I saw 6,000 people. And of course, I know 1,800 of them are somewhere over in Bimini. But, you know, those things are the kind of things that politicians watch, right? Which is whether the turnout was high or low, those things don't necessarily matter when we're talking about who takes home the bacon. If 3 people show up, I only need 2 of the votes. The question becomes, how does any one of the persons vying for the seat gain the confidence of the people that will go into the box? The people that are staying home will stay home. We can hypothesize forever about what direction those votes may have gone in had they showed up at the polls. What we can definitively say is that they're not at the polls. Was the message of the Progressive Liberal Party that Kingsley Smith is our guy, that tomorrow we will still be the government, that this is the man we want to work with, that we have no desire to work with anybody else? Does that message resonate? Or does the message of the Free National Movement, which is, hey, they say they love you, they say this for Obi, they had 2 years, they ain't do it for Obi in 2 years, why would they do it now? Don't give them a chance. And besides, if you don't like our guy, you could send him back to us in 3 years, right? Does that message resonate? And so, whether it's 10 voters, 15 voters, or the 6,000 voters that are on the parliamentary registration, what matters most, Makushla, is will you get the person in the box to buy the message? And again, I think there you see an opportunity for a spoiler like the COI, right, who would have the parliamentary count as 31, 7, and 1 or something like that, may have been able to make inroads where the major parties were not as good as not securing their bases, but changing the mind of the swing voter. And that is very important.
Well, that's a point also that was brought up during the nomination day.
Exactly.
Okay. and talking to
Kwesi
Thompson a lot and seeing how things are in there, they got to find out why 1,500 voters did not go to the polls. This is what I said to him. Y'all got to do your homework. I said to the PLP, you got to do your homework. You've got to go out there and go and get people and find out from them what is the holdup. Why are you not geared to come to the polls and to give us support, whether it's PLP, whether it's F&M, whether it's independent, okay, or the COI. But the bottom line is this: they needed to do their homework. That particular constituency, West Grand Bahama and Bimini, is a fickle constituency because it's been PLP, it's been F&M, it's gone to PLP, it's gone to F&M, and it's gone back to PLP. People change. People have different views, and they have their ways of how they handle it. And it's also family blocks, where they have these different settlements at the family blocks as well. So that's a good point you made there.
I'll tell you what else was particularly interesting to me today while I was on the ground. There is the fact that if 6,000 people are on the register, we can't say that people aren't motivated to vote. I mean, you don't register for any other reason except you want to be eligible to vote. But what we found was, even though there weren't very many lines,
we're going to stick a pin right there, Levon, and we're going to the Free National Movement headquarters with our Devontae Hanna. Devontae?
Well, again, we're coming to you from the Free National Movement's headquarters in 8 Mile Rock, Grand Bahama, the home of where all the action for the Free National Movement is happening tonight, as they wait with bated breath the result of this West Grand Bahama and Bimini by-election. Of course, you know, their horse in the race is Ricardo Grant, or as they would call him, Bishop, who they feel will clinch the victory tonight. They say that Grant has run a smear-free, statesman-like campaign. They also said that he has a history of strong service here in the community, and they believe that he can take it all the way. Now, it is important to note that the Free National Movement won the seat the last time in 2017, and for the first time in 1997, both on waves, or as we would call it, landslide victories. But tonight, despite all of that, they're saying that they believe they can take it all the way. We've heard from the former Prime Minister, the Honorable Hewitt Ingram, who is calling for more balance in the House of Assembly, and they feel as though Grant can join the members of the Free National Movement in the House of Assembly to create an even stronger opposition to hold the Progressive Liberal Party's feet to the fire. Again, I'm coming to you live from the Free National Movement headquarters in 8 Mile Rock, where it's exciting, but it is nerve-wracking for these supporters as they wait. Just moments ago, the polls closed, and now they're waiting for those votes to come out. And of course, they're going to be tuned in here with us, and I'm going to be sticking with them as well to get all of the reaction from them. Back to you.
Well, thanks, Devontae. Just to pick up, Levan, from a point you made, it goes back to what you said, Kwesi Thompson noted during nomination day, and that campaigning is just not asking people or soliciting for votes. Campaign really comes down to being a science. Right. You have to get down, do the work, persuade those who didn't vote for you, and persuade those who have no interest in voting, period. Right. You have to sway them to your side. What's important here is what each candidate seeks to bring to the table. You have Kingsley Smith from the Progressive Liberal Party, and obviously with the backing of the government, he can offer more. But you have, just recently, you had the government sign a roads contract for Bimini. Kingsley Smith is promising a Defense Force base. You have Ricardo Grant focusing heavily on education. You have very ambitious campaigns from both Kingsley Smith and Ricardo Grant from the two major parties. In the case of Ricardo Grant, do you think this is practical, though? You don't have a government to push you. You don't have that proverbial wind beneath your wings to make this happen for you. And I think for the voters then is, how can you make it happen? What's your view on the promises that have been made on the campaign trail in both instances, particularly in the case of a Ricardo Grant?
Well, Mukushla, again, like I said, right? So the only reason people would register to vote is if they had some desire to be a part of the process. There's no other reason to register, all right? But what you found today was that even into the 1 o'clock hour, 2 o'clock hour, there were some people registered to vote that just still hadn't voted yet. They were sitting under the tree, and you would ask, and they would say, yeah, we're registered, but you know, we kind of just hanging around. And there's obviously either that last touch of compassion or that last human touch that people are looking for, that last final word, that last glimmer of hope. And I think if we are going to argue reasonably, right, the candidate that in my view did that better was Ricardo Grant. Right, he seems like a less propped up candidate, right? And I've said it. I'm not going to shy away from it. The Progressive Liberal Party's candidate reminds me a whole lot of Greg Gomez of 2012, right? Where he had the backing of Hubert Ingram, he had all of the fanfare of former cabinet ministers. At that time, Charlie Maynard and all of those persons, the candidate just he wasn't forceful enough. And so his candidacy never kind of ossified. It was just not something that people resonated with. Conversely, you see the difference in Ricardo Grant, who on the platform is brilliant. Of course, though, we must remember he is the bishop. Right. As a matter of fact, at some point in his rally speech, I was looking for a guy with a keyboard, you know, in the chord of A minor. and so when you take him there, he is at home. It is easy for him to connect. And so I think his message is going to be one of, I've been in the community working as a church leader, right? I've been able to get people to sponsor, you know, social initiatives in the community already, and I can use that same influence in the House of Assembly. And you heard Papa talk about a member of Parliament being able to go in the House of Assembly and to actually pontificate. And I think the better candidate is Ricardo Grant there.
Well, right now we're going to have the other voice in this race, and that's of the Coalition of Independence leader in terms of his camp, that is, Lincoln Bain. Holding them down for us is our Jay Philippe.
Lincoln Bain has certainly become a household name over the past few months here at the COI headquarters. A number of supporters are here anticipating that in about a few minutes or a few hours that Lincoln Bain just might be the next member of parliament for West Grand Bahama and Bimini. I had the opportunity to speak to Lincoln Bain earlier today. He's pretty optimistic and confident that he has what it takes to serve the community of West Grand Bahama and Bimini. Right now behind me, it's about 20 to 30 persons are here. When I first came around, 4:30 was just about 5 persons, but they are trickling one by one. I spoke to one of the representatives just a few minutes ago, and they said that Lincoln Bain is actually on his way to the headquarters. And speaking of what Ramiko just said earlier at the PLP's headquarters, they were setting up for a parade. Likewise, here at COI, the members are saying that they are preparing for the aftermath after tonight's results, and they are too preparing for a victory parade. We'll see what happens in a few hours, and I'll have all the highlights and all the updates as the information becomes more apparent to us. So back to you guys in studio. We'll be here until the rest of the night. We'll see if Lincoln Bain will be the next member of parliament for West Grand Bahama and Bimini. We'll find out in a few hours.
Well, thanks, Jana. Independents Daquan Swain and Tennille Burrows also hoping to make a difference in the makeup of the House of Assembly. We hear from our Julanda Thompson Everest.
Well, Makushla, after high energy at the political rallies, it all came down to today. While the two major political parties and the Coalition of Independents are all confident of a win, independent candidates Daquan Swain and Tennille Burrows say not to count them out. Today we spoke with the two political hopefuls. For Daquan Swain, he believes that while there was a slow turnout today, he believes that he will provide a fresh perspective and youthful outlook for the West Grand Bahama and Bimini constituency. Tennille Burrows says as she made her rounds today, and she says that the country needs someone to represent the youth and children of the nation who cannot speak for themselves. If either of these candidates are successful tonight, he or she would be the only independent representative in the House of Assembly. Live in studio, I'm Julanda Thompson Everest. Back to you at the desk.
Well, thanks, Julanda. I think what's interesting, gentlemen, is that we have 5 candidates, but none of them live in the constituency.
Well, put it this way. You have, right now, Kingsley, who was born in the West End. That's his area. And then you also have Ricardo, who's from 8 Mile Rock. And that's where their families are structured.
Right. You have familiar ties.
And so they have familiar ties. That's why I said it's a clannish community because of the family structures that you have in there. Yeah, cousin here, friends here, and so some things go from there. But you made a very important point there as well, the fact that you got to look at how this is going to pan out and filter through the community. Remember now, we came out of the elections with the wave, and it was a wave that created this thing. There's no wave here. I mean, you could put a quarter on the water and it'll float. Okay, so it's calm, and so there's no wave, and so this is why folks are like, well, what's going on? And there's indecisiveness as to where this whole thing is going, because there's no way.
Well, just looking at the candidates, of course, if you're going to look for somebody that's going to be bombastic and go into the parliament and I guess, disrupt the normal procedures, you're looking for a Lincoln Bean. Tennille Burrows has been very clear about what her message is about women and children because they cannot speak for themselves. Daquan actually brings a little bit of that hometown flavor. I want to do this for my community. I am one of you. That is a message I resonate with. I ran as an independent in my community. I completely get that message, right? And then there is the Progressive Liberal Party's message, which is, listen, we's the government. Go with the government because that makes sense. Of course, Ricardo Grant has said, yeah, the government ain't done for you all in 2 years, and why would they start tomorrow if you all give them back this seat, right? And while he has the endorsement of the Right Honorable Hubert Ingram that he is a better pontificator, right? We've seen that if you watch the rallies, Pakeisha Parker was brilliant. She is a wonderful orator. We have to be very careful that we do not reach for a pontificator and end up sending a bloviator into the House of Assembly, because that will actually yield no result.
The question on that with Pakeisha is, why wasn't she not renominated then? If she...
You want to get there? Because I have varying questions. Why wasn't it Pakeisha? Why wasn't it any of the senators, right? So, two of which are actually recent members in the last administration, one of which is a cabinet minister and is on the ground. So we can't say that he couldn't make it to Grand Bahama. He's obviously free enough in his calendar to be here campaigning. Why would? And there is no rule that the person must be from the constituency. Hubert Ingram doesn't live in North Abaco. Right. Lyndon Pinlin didn't live in South Andros. Barry Christie definitely doesn't live anywhere near Farm Road. So again, the Free National Movement makes me curiously interested in wondering, if your last team was so brilliant and there are members of your last team available, why didn't you offer any of them? Or do you believe that it is a taste of bile left from the last administration, the people just haven't gotten past?
Well, I'm going to stop you right there, Levan. A riveting showdown at polling divisions 6 and 7, we understand, between supporters of the Progressive Liberal Party and the Free National Movement. And the arrival of key political figures, a former Prime Minister, notably the Prime Minister and leader of the Free National Movement, you can imagine, only added to those tensions. On-site correspondent Rebecca Knowles gives us a better insight of how those events unfolded.
The day that residents of West Grand Bahama and Bimini have been waiting on has arrived. Over 800 registered voters from the settlements of Sea Grape and Jonestown are expected to cast their votes at Martintown Primary School today, where polling divisions 6 and 7 are. Now, we've been here from about 7 o'clock this morning, and we met persons in line. In fact, one lady said that she was here from about 3 a.m. to ensure that her vote is counted for.
We can't let nobody take West End and Bimini. West End and Bimini belongs to the PLP.
In polling divisions 6 and 7, the competition between the Progressive Liberal Party and the Free National Movement remains fiercely contested, reflecting on the 2017 general election results. In polling division 6, Pakeisha Parker Edgecombe secured a narrow victory over Obi Wilshcombe, clinching 168 votes against Wilshcombe's 152. Similarly, in polling division 7, the tides turned in favor of Wilshcombe, who garnered 180 votes compared to Edgecombe's 156. Both victories were achieved by margins of less than 10%, signifying the intense competition between the Free National Movement and the PLP. Despite the nail-biting statistics, the nation's leader, Prime Minister the Honorable Philip Davis, showed up to the polls confident in their party's candidate.
Well, I'm excited. I'm very pleased by the turnout of PLPs to the polls, from the polling stations I've visited so far. It's a great day.
Tensions escalated as the leader of the Free National Movement made a grand entrance, accompanied by a sizable entourage of over 3 supporters.
It shouldn't happen. It's happening too much. It's happening too much. Get them out, man. Get them out. Get them out. Only three.
We are here today to support Ricardo Grant. The Free National Movement will provide a new brand of leadership in West Grand Bahama.
Mere minutes later, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable I. Chester Cooper, entered the school grounds.
We're very confident and we're delighted that we're seeing a steady flow of supporters come very early today.
And as time passed swiftly, voters entered the polling station to exercise their democratic rights, some proudly adorned in party paraphernalia, while others opted for plain attire.
I would not say that this one going to win and that one going to win. Only God knows how.
On a scale of 1 to 100, how confident are you that Ricardo Grant will emerge as the winner of this by-election?
We need a 50% plus one, and that's all we need.
I'm confident, 100% sure that we're going to pull it off.
From polling divisions 6 and 7, I'm Ramiko Knowles for ZNS Network News.
Well, our news team also went to polling divisions 4 and 5A over at the Holmes Rock Primary School. And Ricardo, I think I'm correct in saying those are the F&M strongholds. They're one of the largest for voters. Our Jay Philippe was on the ground from early this morning where he filed this report.
There were 4 polling stations at the Holmes Rock primary for this year's by-election. Voters came in as early as 7 a.m. and shortly after 8 a.m., to be exact 8:10 a.m. is when the gates were open and voters came in to mark their X for their preferred candidate for this year's by-election. Voters walked in one by one to cast their votes. Names of voters were made visible, which proved to be beneficial in helping with the voting process.
Coming into the polling division, it was very good. It was a smooth process.
The process is smooth. The process was nice, quick and easy.
It didn't go as smoothly as I thought it would. They had little hiccups. It was great. I was just in and out.
These voters spoke about the areas in which they would like to see improvements carried out if their party becomes victorious.
One of the things I like to see happening, the continuation for us to say, do some development here.
A lot of things are going to come forward now that we asked for and needed in the community.
Party members, the Honorable Jobeth Kobe Davis and the Honorable Kwesi Thompson, also made the drive to Holmes Rock to support their candidates.
Support is great. They're strong. The people are coming in their colors, and that's always a good thing, a positive thing.
We are seeing a number of folks who can come out. Our supporters are coming out. They are not wearing political colors, which we can completely understand.
The Prime Minister, the Honorable Philip Brave Davis, also made his rounds in the Holmes Rock area, where he greeted party supporters that came out to support the PLP. Early on in the morning, the polls had not been open for not even an hour yet before there was controversy between agents from the Free National Movement and the Progressive Liberal Party. Officers of the Royal Bahamas Police Force were eventually called to de-escalate the situation. Shortly after that, COI leader and candidate Lincoln Bain made a grand entrance at the polling station.
We're feeling very good about our chances. We feel that the people are tired of the back and forth with the PLP and F&M. And then at the end of the day, it's their choice.
Independent candidate Ternille Burrows and PLP standard bearer Kingsley Smith Jr. also shared their thoughts on the by-election.
Feeling good. I thought it was going to be more of a slew of people coming through, but they seem to be pacing themselves.
What we're seeing right now is a good process, a smooth process. People are coming in to vote.
Overall, the voting process here at Holmes Rock Primary went pretty smooth for the most part. Voters came in, cast their votes, and within 10 minutes, they were out. For the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, I'm Jay Philippe.
So all we're hearing, gentlemen, is that it was a smooth process today. But getting back to Kingsley Smith's campaign, he's campaigning on one love. You know, this one's for Obi, the mantra of Obi Wilchcombe. Big shoes to fill. You know, some feel, we've heard immediately following Obi Wilchcombe's death. We stop right now to get some results. Some results are in. And right now from polling division 4, where there are 554 voters eligible to vote, we have Lincoln Bain with 0, and that's from the COI. We have Ternille Burrows with 0 as well, and she's running as an independent. Ricardo Grant, the F&M, 40. And in Kingsley Smith, the PLP, 90. And Daquan Swain, 4. So those are our first set of results coming in the West Grand Bahama and Bimini by-election. And those are from polling division 4.
That's in Holmes Rock Primary. You have where the Wallaces on the front road, and then in the back road you have another group of family in the back, the Monroes, and so getting everybody to come out to vote was going to be the key to whatever happens, especially in that area there in Holmes Rock.
Well, just to go back to what we were talking about, big shoes to fill with Obie Wilshcombe. Some see him as a hero. He was revered both locally and abroad as a tourism giant. But there's another story that the F&M has made it a point to tell on the campaign trail that, hey, you're voting for the man that the PLP themselves didn't want initially, that the PLP themselves took long to ratify. Was it a good move to actually build a campaign on One Love slogan, to say that you would like to follow in Obie, well, not so much follow in Obie footsteps, but to even include Obie Wilshcombe in a by-election campaign?
I think it was a really good move to honor the life and the legacy of the man that has spent, I think, 20 years or 17 years as the representative. Just in the short history of my life, I don't recall anybody being the member of parliament for the constituency for any longer period than that. The name Obie Wilshcombe kind of became synonymous with West End and Bimini, right? But for the small interruption by Pakeisha Parker, and here is the problem. The more the F&M tried to say that Obie Wilshcombe had done nothing, they began to display their own culpable negligence, right? Because you can't say that the complex shouldn't have taken 7 years to build if 4 of the 7 years were yours. You can't say that the school didn't need to take 8 years to complete if 4 of the years were yours. And so it was a very slippery slope. But to the PLP, as the government, with a major majority and a wave, the Progressive Liberal Party should have been able to just show up and say, we's the PLP, this one for Obie, ain't no need for no lines, let's go home. The fact that they weren't able to just do that means that they have to now turn down that message of arrogance, which is we're the government, we will look out for you, no one else can do nothing for you, and if you don't go with us, which was a message that you had to sift through. Kingsley Smith is our man. After the election, Kingsley Smith will still be our man. We won't work with Kingsley. Does that then suggest to me that if we don't give you Kingsley, you will give us nothing? It is a message that could use a little adjusting. But I similarly believe that the Free National Movement, in pointing out some of the neglect of the Progressive Liberal Party, didn't necessarily make a better case for themselves. Because why did the Progressive Liberal Party have to come and do it if you recently got rid of the seat? Why is the most recent incumbent, or the incumbent rather, on the stage telling me about how you all don't care about me? Can I argue the same thing for the Free National Movement? What will make the bishop so different? And I think the only thing that rescues the bishop in this instance is he's been in the community, he's been a community leader, he's proven that he has the affluence and influence to be able to sustain and maintain 35 years, according to him, as a leader in his community. That could translate into something that's different politically.
Okay, right now we go to a revision in polling division number 4, and that's in the case of both, well, the revisions all around. Lincoln Bain pulling in 22 votes in that polling division. Janelle Burrows again 0, Ricardo Grant 40, Kingsley Smith 68, and Daquan Swain 4. And polling division 4, that is, again, have a total of 554 votes. So it all goes back to a point you made earlier in terms of what was seen on the ground earlier today of low voter turnout. By all means, only one polling division in, but out of 554 voters, those are the numbers we're pulling in.
But all the candidates also pointed that, you know, it was a slow process.
Slow process.
And so the question is, again, is going to be reminiscing, did the voting bloc decide that they were going to come out and mark that X, or are they just going to sit back and let the chips fall where they may? And we're seeing from the first poll that that's good, but we'll see as it progresses.
Yeah.
When the other polls now turn in the numbers and see what the response has been today.
And Ricardo, I tote no water for the Coalition of Independents. I guarantee you that, right? As a matter of fact, I disagree largely with much of their antics. But I want people to be very cognizant that if you count the votes the way they're coming in, I'm no mathematician, I failed the BGCSE 3 times, so you can check me on it. That looks like the coalition is accounting for at least 1/3. If the leading person has 68 votes, and the coalition is behind them somewhere with about 22 or thereabout, you know, that may be enough to cause an upset when we start getting into polling divisions that are tighter, when we start getting into polling divisions where the turnout was less. Because, you know, like the former deputy speaker said in the interview, it's literally 51% of the vote that you need.
Right.
And
50 plus 1.
And a spoiler vote, and a spoiler party could make it a very, very sad day. I see they're propping up the stages and everything. The good thing about being the government is I know that you write winning speeches and losing speeches at the same time.
Exactly. We also have results in from Bimini.
Yeah.
We have results in from Bimini.
Let's see if we can get those in. So we're trying to get those numbers in.
Going back to the candidates now, Ricardo Grant. On the campaign trail, there have been some allegations tossed at him that he's been involved in a Ponzi scheme. His leader has come to his defense and saying, hey, this is just a red herring, distraction on your part. My candidate, a Ponzi scheme, the most is that he's been involved in it, not the leadership. Do you think things like this hurt a campaign so much so that votes are here? And now we go to the results before you answer that question. In polling division A8, Lincoln Bain 3, Tennille Burrows 1, Ricardo Grant 17, Kingsley Smith 26, and Daquan Swain 1. And this is in Bimini, polling division number 8A. And again, we see Lincoln Bain still pulling in some votes there. We have Kingsley Smith again in the lead in a second polling division. And as I said, it's still early in the game, but Kingsley Smith has set himself apart from the rest for the Progressive Liberal Party.
This is the Louise McDonald School down there in Bimini and Allenstown. And so interesting to see how that's now working out. And again, we're still waiting for 9 to come in and 10. And we'll see how Bimini settles the mark.
Bimini is, you could correct me if I'm wrong, is Bimini a F&M stronghold?
Bimini is a flip of the coin, okay? And it all depends upon the economic structure down there. It's the gateway. And right now, there is much that's happening in Bimini. Bimini's doing very, very well touristic-wise. We're now into the Thanksgiving season. The folks have been going in and flying in like crazy. During the summer, they had boaters that came across the Balearia. They got cruise ships. They've got a lot going on in Bimini right now. And so do they throw in the towel or do they turn around and pull the towel tight? It all depends upon the individuals and how they see themselves in an economic structure.
Polling division number 8, again from Bimini. Those results are in as well. Lincoln Bain 3, Tennille Burrows 0, Ricardo Grant 17, Kingsley Smith 55, Daquan Swain 1. So Kingsley Smith again, another polling division, he's won. And Lincoln Bain is holding his own. His numbers are not in the double digits, but he's bringing in votes nonetheless in every polling division thus far. Granted, at this point, it's still between Ricardo Grant and Kingsley Smith, the two big boys in the person of the in terms of the Free National Movement and the F&M. And going back to a point I made earlier about this Ponzi scheme, do you think things of this sort impact campaigns, impact the chance of a person succeeding as much as they possibly could?
Well, it depends on where you fall, right? Because who could ever forget the almighty loom, right?
Yes.
If all of us get dongi, you can't use it against me.
Exactly.
Yeah. If they diddle us all, then how do you use that against me, right? Unless, of course, we can prove that he somehow became the beneficiary of some earnings that later was given to him, then that would be a different argument. But he definitively defended his reputation. He said, I've been here 35 years. I've had scandals in my life before. None of them have ever unseated me. I'm still the bishop. And I'm not just the bishop, I'm the bishop of bishops. I happen to be the president of all the past presidents and a superintendent of the police, right? And so again, if you look at his social platform, if you look at what he's been doing in the community, he seems to be the candidate with the most tangible story, right? I'm a police officer in your community. I'm a preacher in your community. I've had the same wife for 15 years because, you know, people just get rid of them. Somehow, these people still say that there are things about me that you should check. Like what? You know, and I don't think a smear campaign, if that was the intention of the Progressive Liberal Party, worked very well. He has obviously defended himself quite masterfully there.
Do you think so, though? Like I said, his leader has said, no, he was only a participant, but there have been people who have come forward to say, well, you're actually the leader. We have proof that you're actually the leader. We have proof that you and your wife both owe us money. And what does that say to him being the bishop of bishops? What does that say to him being a police officer, albeit a reservist? What does that say to the character of a man if, however, these allegations are true and he is not just a participant, but the leader?
Well, allegations are in fact just that, Mukushla, right? So one of the other things that happened to me today as you know, as we went in to check the temperature was, you know, there are claims, right? And this is what stood out in my mind as I moved throughout the polling divisions. There were claims from members of the Free National Movement that you know, they pay in people, man. And my argument is simple. There is a place you carry all allegations. The Commissioner of Police has an obligation to the Crown to prosecute any allegation or to at least investigate any allegation. If the man doesn't have any single antecedent regarding this matter, then we must. You know, innocence is never something I need to prove. I heard on the Free National Movement stage, right, that, what is the name of the former senator? Why does her name escape me? Anyway, doesn't matter. But she says, they bring us thieves, they bring us robbers, they bring us... And my question is, Jasmine Darius, yes. How do you substantiate this claim? How do you add any veracity to this claim? How do you test the verisimilitude of this claim? Do you just throw things in the air, and unless there is some police action taken, unless there is a police report somewhere, unless there was an investigation done at some time, then we have to accept the man at his innocence when he says, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I like that, but you know, also keep in mind too that that's the nature of our people. And we feel as Bahamians, once you offer yourself for office, you need to be above board and you need to be sparkling clean.
Yeah, you had to have precipitated this morning.
Whatever you did
heaven.
from when you came out of primary school until you left school and came back and began working, you cannot do no wrong, okay? You can't have no sweetheart, you can't have no books, you can't be shooting marble in the backyard, you can't do nothing wrong. Because they're gonna try to find some means and ways to what? Put you in an awkward position.
This must, though, have been some blight on his campaign, considering that no shots, I mean, either of you could correct me if I'm wrong, no shots were fired in terms of Kingsley Smith's campaign. Nothing was uncovered, and certainly nothing to, I'm not saying this is to a big degree, because like you said, very few of us haven't participated in a loom. But hey, as far as we know, Kingsley Smith is squeaky clean. But I'll stick a pin there and go to polling division number 14, West Grand Bahama and Bimini by-election. Lincoln Bay, double digits for Lincoln Bay this time around from the COI, and that's with 44 votes to Neil Burrows 0. Ricardo Grant 97, Kingsley Smith 111, and Daquan Swain 4. So Lincoln Bay, considering that, you know, he has a movement, but all things considered, he did remarkably well in this polling division, in polling division 14, 485 voters here. And when you tally those numbers, still low voter turnout all around.
In Martintown, and this is at the 8 Mile Rock High School. Going to the nomination process, a number of the individuals that I sat there and that I know that were affiliated with various parties, all right, was backing Lincoln. And so that area in there, because you know you have a mixture between the PLP and F&M with John Martin and his family who's back there, and then you have the Joneses over there on the other side, and then when you go back to I-95, all through those little small roads over to the north side, there's a lot of people in the back there. So the question was, can you reach them and get them to come out and give you your support? And that was one of the key areas, especially in that area there, in the Martintown area.
Well, Makushla, I'm not surprised when you get, like I said, into certain areas. You could see the people weren't hiding their colors; they flew their colors, and so I think Martintown was one of those areas that we went in, around the 8 Mile Rock Primary School, and you saw them flying their colors. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the polling division where I actually saw one of the F&M, what do they call it, water tents. They kind of folded up early and kind of packed up and left. And so, you know, again, not very surprised to see that, particularly in this polling division, just based, again, on what I saw on the ground. And to the point on Kingsley Smith, right, do I need to bring allegations against the integrity of your character if I campaign on the fact that I think you're a dummy? If I say that you lack the competence, right? Because, believe it or not, I think the former administration proved to us that ineptitude is the greatest sin of all, right? It is sinful to know that you are incapable and to continue on as if you are capable. And so if I say to you on the campaign trail, no, he don't thief because he don't have the capacity to thief. No, he don't lie not because he's so spiritual. The boy is a dummy. He don't know what a lie is. And you heard that over and over. You heard it from Mr. Ingram, you heard it from the chairman. You know, they even tried to suggest at one point the man ain't got no bank account. Really? He works for Bahama's government. What would they be paying him in, a cream can? But it wasn't to point out any corruption. It was to point out that we ain't sure this boy could read. You follow me? He might be Bala Yankee. Let's don't send a dummy to Parliament, which was the message of the Free National Movement. Obviously, we're seeing from the results that didn't resonate. I will admit, he's a candidate on a string. He's a candidate on a stick. He needs propping up. But does that translate into him not being able to pull off the victory? And from what I'm seeing going into the polls, the Progressive Liberal Party, with its machinery, with its message that we are the ones that are in a position to do something for you, it's one that's holding firm, and the people are showing it at the polls.
Let's take a closer look at Lincoln Bain. Lincoln Bain said from the onset, I guess even if I don't win, change is already here. I've made change on the ground and campaigning. So Lincoln Bain seems not so much, and I can't be wrong, not so much in it to win it, but really to make a difference.
I've called him, I've dubbed him the Miami Dolphins of this by-election. He didn't come here to go to the Super Bowl.
You could appreciate that, right, Ricardo?
He didn't come here to go to the Super Bowl. He simply came to ensure that Tom Brady doesn't go to the Super Bowl, and that is all he cares about.
My little sports knowledge, I understand where you come from.
If he wins one game, one Sunday, that's it. This was the last Super Bowl. Let's drink beer. And that's why Lincoln's here. He doesn't intend to do anything extraordinary. He intends to ensure, and I thought that popularity for Lincoln Bain would translate into a hardship for the Progressive Liberal Party. That is proving to be very different. Well, I actually have a 6-pair bet that Lincoln Bain is getting his deposit back in this race.
Well, let's see how that goes, how the votes stack up for Lincoln Bain. Let's see if Levon Miller is correct. For Lincoln Bain in polling division number 5, 0 votes, Vaughn Miller. Tennille Burrows, 1 vote. Ricardo Grant, 41 votes. Kingsley Smith, a gang ahead with 84 votes, and Daquan Swain, 0. So again, this is, I think we're up to 5 polling divisions already, and I think we are.
Well, you're up to actually five, because you have
polling divisions.
8A, and there's also 8 straight, but 538 voters in that polling area, and the numbers, very low turnout.
5 polling divisions. We have just 14 in total. The numbers, we can admit, are coming in very quickly, but it doesn't look like 6,000 plus voters went out to vote, and despite the fact that we have more divisions. We also have another polling division coming in. This is polling division number 6, where there are 405 registered voters. Lincoln Bain, 32 for the COI. Janelle Burrows, again 0. Ricardo Grant, 49. Kingsley Smith, 128, and Daquan Swain, 3. So in this polling division there, Kingsley Smith, a clear blowout in terms of the votes captured in polling division number 6.
Where is 6?
This is in Jonestown.
Jonestown.
Right.
That's surprising to me.
Right.
When I went into Jonestown today, I literally saw a tumbleweed blowing across the street. None of the supporting tents looked
active.
Yeah, it was pretty much a ghost town, right, when we were there. These people must have snuck through under the cover of darkness to come and vote. I don't know when they were there, because we made about 2 or 3 trips through the area. But it's interesting to see that the gap is that big. What I will point out to you though is in the Jonestown area, much unlike when we went into West End, no one there really wore any colors, which my understanding is typically translates terribly for the governing party, especially in small communities, right? But we're seeing from the numbers that those people know what it is that they want, and they don't need to fly their colors to do that. They're coming out. This is a matter of fact case for them. They're going to vote and leave, and that is kind of what I saw in Jonestown. There wasn't any hanging up, no shaking of hands. The 2 or 3 voters that were present, they came, they voted, got in their cars, and left. Again, quite the contrary when you get into West End around polling division number 1, 2, and 3.
These numbers indicative of a point the former Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham made on the campaign trail, though, in terms of history of by-elections. And he said they've always gone in favor of the governing party. He said, you know, the F&M has a great history of losing by-elections, and that the last one they actually won was in 1990 with him.
Yeah, which was him.
So I think it begs the question of not why the F&M would want to take this chance, but hey, you know, it's up for grabs for anyone.
Well, Makushla, I want to say this, right? I think Michael Pintard, I want to commend him publicly for his courage to contest. He's not a very popular leader. As a matter of fact, he's not much of a leader at all. If you're asking my opinion with regards to the Free National Movement, he kind of inherited the leadership from arguably the absolute worst leader of the entire history of Westminster politics in the Caribbean.
Okay, we're going to come right back to you, Levan. Polling division number 12, 471 registered voters there. Lincoln Bain, 14. Janelle Burrows, 0. Ricardo Grant, 118 for the F&M, Kingsley Smith 116 for the PLP, and Daquan Swain 4. This is the only polling division so far, polling division number 12, that we've seen Ricardo Grant beat the PLP's Kingsley Smith, and albeit only by 2 votes.
Yeah, that's a change.
So it isn't enough to say, well, wipe clean the losses he's had in the other polling divisions. What I would say in terms of the COI, you may be correct in terms of Lincoln Bain getting back his deposit.
Indeed.
But we still have many more polling divisions to go, so I wouldn't give that to you just
and
yet.
then also keep in mind that they voted 8 Mile Rock High School. This is the Martintown community, people in that area up in there. So you look at where the churches in that area where familiarity comes into play.
Right.
And so that's an area that he canvasses quite a bit, and his church is not too far from there. And so now you're trying to see where I know you, okay? So That's
right. You can't vote against
So it
because
would
you
have
have
been
something changed
odd
Sunday.
if he had lost out in that polling division.
So that his homework and his knocking on doors and folks in that area, they
feel him.
They feel them.
Yeah. So Makushla, just so I can end the point with regards to, could you imagine the Free National Movement not contesting the race in Western Bimini? It would be a travesty, right? Because now you would have Lincoln Bain picking up all the votes that he has, and then possibly picking up all of the votes that the Free National Movement now has, which could put him in a better position than the Free National Movement is in presently. Could you imagine a quarterback sneak by the COI, all because the leader of the Free National Movement was cowardice? Could you imagine if Mr. Michael C. Pintard, leader of the Free National Movement, leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition, waking up Thursday morning,
knowing that the COI had won that seat?
The only question we would have after that was whether the feces in his pants was soft or hard, because I guarantee you, there would be no other consequence for having missed such an opportunity. You understand? And so, don't listen to Papa. Don't run in West End. Foolishness. Papa was the government in 2012 when he lost. So it's possible that the government can lose. When they sent Dwayne Sands down there in Elizabeth, when in my view they orchestrated the resignation of the Progressive Liberal Party's candidate at that time, Ryan Binder didn't unpack suitcases yet. The Attorney General, of course. The customs stamp in his passport didn't dry good yet. He jumps off a plane and beats the entire Free National Movement with the government's corpus, right? So governments can lose by elections. But could you imagine Thursday morning, Lincoln Bain is holding a Bible in his hand,
being sworn in
on the brand new painted stamp of Mount Fitzwilliam, swearing in as the new member of parliament for the West. Michael Pintard would need heart medication, because I guarantee you that would, and his leadership would be entirely on the ropes.
Which brings us to another point. This election, albeit a by-election, this is very important for both parties. It speaks to the strength of both leaders. The Prime Minister, 2 years in, another 3 years to go. It's more or less a report card of how you rate us as a government. For Michael Pintard, I'm trying to clinch that general election. If we win this, it's indicative of what I can do. This is my candidate. This is not a Minnis candidate. It's not a Hubert Ingram candidate. This is my candidate. I picked it. So for each party is a lot riding on who wins.
I get that, Makushla, and here is what I will say. So, with regards to the Free National Movement, if they pull off the victory, there's nothing to be said. Michael Pintard will come and say, I tell you like it'll be the Progressive Liberal Party. I tell you they're failing. I tell you they're failing miserably. None of their policies are working. That would be what he comes out and says in his speech. If he loses, he will say, listen, we still have work to do. You know, we inherited a broken party. The FNM is a wide tent. We are inviting all of the FNMs to come back home. You see that we was able to hide on 6'3" of Hubert Minnis. I see him on this campaign once. I don't know what container they put him in. He must be ducking down. But what I know is he ain't on a single plane coming to Grand Bahama or Bimini. And if he is, they must be nail his hotel room door shut, because he certainly ain't been to none of the rallies. This is a new Free National Movement. Please come back home.
Right.
All right? If the Progressive Liberal Party wins, they will say it will be wise of them to pick the message of not contrition, but humility. We understand that the power is yours. We are so thankful that you have permitted us to hold that power. We understand that we may not have always acted right, and because we understand that the power is yours, we intend to always display that we know that and that we are appreciative of it. Now, in my view, they should have been able to just come down here and, like I said at the beginning, say, Obi dead, please vote for us because Obi dead. The fact that they weren't able to say that means that they have to go and think about some things. But in the same breath of air, if in fact they win, I think it is still something that will engender some confidence in them that maybe we're still the people's choice. And I think that that is a good place to be in, particularly with a votership or an electorate that has changed its government every 5 years. That you're still popular enough to pull off a by-election 2 years after being in government with a candidate that is not the best candidate, in a constituency that is experiencing the kind of hardship like West End and Bimini. That you know something, we may have missed some steps. This has helped to clear the lens for us. What I thought was impressive, though, Mukushla, was for the Prime Minister to prove his commitment to this constituency by flying every single member of the cabinet here. This is how you know he ain't taking it for a joke.
Right.
I turned on my TV last week, the Prime Minister was shaking hands somewhere in Abu Dhabi or somewhere like that.
He was.
This man's 72, you know. For him to take a transatlantic flight back here
in time
for 6,000 people in the corner of Grand Bahama suggests to me that he understands the importance of proving to these people that we aren't bigoted, we aren't arrogant, we were busy. And now that we realize that we may have become a little too busy, we want to spend some more time focusing on what is important locally.
Speaking of who's on the ground, you noted that Dr. Minnis is nowhere to be seen.
Like Carmen San Diego, missing. Listen, he missing like the FTX money. Missing. The whole of CID can't find him. The FBI, what did Selena Bill say? The FBI, the CIA, or no other aid could find him.
Yep.
And he's 6'3". I don't know where they hide him.
The Free National Movement, both big parties, brought out their big guns, be it not Dr. Minnis. We have Hubert Ingram, former Prime Minister, taking the stage. He noted that it's the first time in 6 years he's taken a stage. When you look out in the crowd, you see a Tommy Turnquest, you see Dwayne Sawyer there.
Sands, yeah.
Dwayne Sawyer as well, and Dwayne Sands. So you had all of their big wigs there as well. The entire cabinet not only flew here, not only had cabinet here, but was on the ground campaigning, including former MPs like a Jerome Fitzgerald, who we saw on the ground ourselves. Do you think this would have some impact? This would resonate with voters to say, well, I think you made your point in terms of we take you importantly to bring it all here. Do you think in terms of the F&M bringing their big wigs here, that may have proven something?
What I think, you know, I like to say this, right? Anytime big corporations compete, the customers win. And so what I was able to witness today is that there are people in the service industry that are able to speak their complaints directly into the air, people with enough power to influence it. And I think that in itself is a victory for the people of West End.
We now have results in from polling division 5A. Lincoln Bain with 8 votes for the COI, Tennille Burrows 1 vote, Ricardo Grant 54, and Kingsley Smith 114 votes, and Daquan Swain 0 votes. So Kingsley Smith, that's even more than double the votes that Ricardo Grant received. And polling division 5A is Holmes Rock.
That's right.
Again, we see Tennille Burrows with 1 and Daquan Swain with 0. At this point, it seems as if Tennille Burrows is doing better than Daquan Swain. And this is not his first rodeo, neither of them, in terms of an election. He ran in this very same constituency last year. Tennille Burrows is no stranger in Nassau. She ran in the Elizabeth constituency. Do you think, let's focus on her, do you think it's time to probably hang it up and just let this go and just continue on the path of being an advocate? And it's only your opinion because that choice is not for you to make.
Of course, either that or start a Ministries International. But what I will say is that if nothing else, Tennille has been consistent in her message, that I care about the rights and freedoms of women and children. That has been something she has built as her public platform. She obviously seems very convinced about it. You know, I'm a Bible guy, so the Bible says wherever the treasures of a man is, there shall his heart be also. Unless she swam to Grand Bahama, she at least had to pay for a plane ticket. Right. You know, I don't know where she's been housing herself, but I suspect that could have come with some cost. And whenever people are strapped to their convictions, sometimes they lose their personal assets fighting for and going after it. But if you believe, then you believe, and you must prove that you believe by putting your brawn behind your breath, right? And so I commend her. Well, what I will also point out to you is Tennille actually, if I'm not mistaken, was the third highest vote receiving independent in the 2017 general election. I think with triple digits, if I'm not mistaken. And so, you know, the question now becomes, people obviously are convinced enough by you to go to the poll and cast a vote. You're not coming out with zero. There are independents that have run 1,000 races and come out with zero every time. That's not been the situation with Tennille.
We have Martintown's votes are in. That's polling division number 7. And a Lincoln Bain there for the COI at 33. We have Tennille Burrows again with 0 as an independent. Ricardo Grant, 73. We also have Kingsley Smith, again pulling in some high numbers, 124. And Daquan Swain with 4. So there we have it for polling division number 4.
That's Martintown Primary School where they
polling
voted.
Division number 7. I stand to be
7,
corrected.
where they voted there by Martintown Primary. And again, when you look at the logistics of the people in there, the guys hang out underneath the big tree down there in that area near Mr. Russell's place, and where there's the food store, the Express Food Mart, and all that in that area back in there. So there's quite a bit of activity in there in that area, and people are staying with their convictions.
But there is one thing that stood out to me as we were on the ground today that I thought was quite interesting, right? While the voter turnout is low, that may be because people don't see the need to waste time in a by-election. You know, they've already made their choice one time, and Bahamians, we kind of sell our choice wholesale. We gave that you got that for 5 years.
Yes,
don't come back
to me. Yeah.
But what was noticeably interesting was Pookie them was to the poll. That excites me. I mean, twine up ahead them. You know, you see the young people and you feel like all is lost with them and they're just not a part of the process and they're not informed and they're not engaged. But it gives my heart great joy to see Pookie them toe the line. And they toe in a line to vote, which tells me then, I don't know if they call them Pookie in Freeport, but in the Grove, right? But that tells me that maybe the next election, the voter turnout won't be so bad, right? Or people will assume that as the older voters die out, what will happen is that the voter turnout will continue to diminish. But if what I saw today was any indication, then I think that actually speaks well for what the future will hold for this constituency.
Okay.
Polling division number 8. This is correction in Bimini for polling division number 8. Lincoln Bain there, 16 for the COI. Tennille Burrows, 0 as an independent. Ricardo Grant, 67 for the FNM. Kingsley Smith, 129 for the PLP. And Daquan Swain as an independent, 0. Levon Miller, you've ran as an independent. You noted that early on in our broadcast. It must not be an easy task. You don't have the backing of a major political party in terms of funding, in terms of manpower to get your word out. Speak to what these independents, particularly, Daquan Swain and what a Tennille Burrows must be experiencing at this point, what they have experienced over the past several weeks in terms of getting their message out.
Loneliness, believe it, Makushla. Here's the thing. And I always commend independents that actually step forward and try to be a part of the process, right? When I launched my candidacy in 2017, my candidacy was launched out of protest for the two major parties completely abandoning South Beach, which ultimately decides the government. There's not been a government in 40 years that didn't include South Beach as a seat. So when I saw that neither major party sent a candidate, I was immediately offended, you know, almost to the point that I vomited a little at the back of my tongue. The loneliness, though, experienced by the independent is something so strange that you can't explain it. Why? You're on the campaign trail, you're walking and knocking on doors, people offering you soda and water and sitting you on the porch and, you know, reaching out to you via social media and calling into you while you're on talk shows, etc., etc., etc. You go to bed one night, the Prime Minister announced the date for the election, the two machines cut on immediately. The minute that happens, don't come to my door, I ain't shaking no hand, don't ask me for no water, you could just walk past my house. And so you spend a lot of time still trying to get the message. People that said, man, you have a really good message and I want to buy into this message and I want to be a part of the change, start saying things like, Jal, I just could go for the PLP. They can't tell you why. They can't tell you, they're not really sure if they even like the candidate.
Right.
All they know is, mister, this wartime. And while I was prepared to entertain you when it wasn't wartime, this is wartime, PLB all the way, and that's all I know. And so that journey can get lonely, especially when you're reaching into your pocket and still trying to help people. You're reaching into your pocket, you start to pay for paraphernalia, you have to get airtime. I want to actually commend the Fourth Estate on this, though. Even with the machinery on, and I can tell you the Progressive Liberal Party isn't playing down there. They got all the engines running in the West, right? I can still hear independent candidate voices. That means the media is still actually talking to these people. When I ran as an independent, ain't nobody in the media was talking to me. It was a good thing. You know, I had some relations in the media that I was able to actually tap into. Outside of that, when I see a fellow with a microphone, I know for sure he passing me. And that can become very lonely as an independent candidate. But again, and I took no water for him, and I want to tell you, I pinch my tongue a little bit every time I have to say it. That is what is also so commendable about Lincoln Bain's race. The fact that with the machines on, you can still hear the COI.
Okay, we've got Porter Division 13 that's reporting in right now, guys, and here we go. Lincoln Bain with 26 votes. Janelle Burrows with 1, and then Ricardo Grant for the FNM with 74, and Kingsley Smith of the PLP with 101, and Daquan Swain with 3 votes from Portland Division number 13, and this is again at the 8 Morrock High School, and again encompassing folks there in that Martintown, Jonestown district in there. In terms of the numbers, again, not what we would anticipated we wanted to see, but again, a clear margin there with the support of Kingsley Smith in terms of that. But the question I had for you was, when did you decide that you ain't doing this no more?
I want to say that I continue to work on making myself a better person, and that I have pledged my entire life to public service. Therefore, I am prepared to offer myself in service to the Bahamian people in whatever capacity that they will have me at whatever time they will have me.
Okay.
Lavon Miller, would you say, based on the road you've been down, based on the numbers coming in for independence, that we still are not open, this is still not an independent world in terms of welcoming them into the fold of the FNM and PLP? It's still only those two parties.
I think independents continue to have an uphill battle.
Right.
I do not despise the idea of the COI, which is independents pooling together to increase the reach of their resource. I don't know if I agree with the methodology of turning it into a coalition of independents, because that kind of creates the same monster you despise. It's kind of like how the evangelist in the church leaves the church because he thinks we have too much church, only to start a church and become an apostle next week. Same concept applies. And so, you know, independents, I don't want them to become wary and well-doing, because in order to keep democracy vibrant, you have to always have choices. You don't want people to feel trapped in their democratic right and reach. And so, I guess for as long as time remains, there will be some people with some convictions that they are very, very firm on.
that are not in line.
That are not in line, and they.
But you have that right now. But then again, when you look at what transacted years ago with the DNA and the other parties that were trying to come into some existence, okay, knock on the doors are closed. Okay, so the question will be now for the democratic process of our country, the one person, one vote, is how do you now see us in the next 3 years as we prepare for the next general election?
I'm very sad you said the word DNA before me, because the DNA suffers from one thing, and that's flaccidity. They lack political forcefulness. They lack good political strategy. I don't know if it's political strategy for them to sit out in this by-election, or if the DNA is dead. And so the only person, believe it or not, more missing than Dr. Minnis in this by-election is the DNA, and Richard Johnson, of course. But those people, in my view, do not deserve another chance. It is because they came out of the gate and they got 13,000 people to believe. And then they got those 13,000 people to believe. They didn't galvanize their message in a way that built their discipleship. It became about egos and about who should lead. And I want to point out to both. Where's the camera? We'll make sure I look at that. I want to point out to both the leaders of the DNA, right, that they are both now the leaders of nothing, when they could have been the deputy of something. And so they have, in a handbasket, delivered that party into hell. They will never come back, in my view. And people that have the opportunity to create change cannot allow themselves to be so caught up on things like the titles and like the prestige. If change is what you are in fact interested in.
But I asked you that because here in Grand Bahama, the DNA was a open book. A lot of individuals gave up themselves to engage, and then we went into the last election and we saw many of them as independent candidates, still engaged and still involved, but having no affiliation, and then trying to get people to understand, what their plight is. But then again, you have the two big boys who comes in and squashes the whole work of that.
Right, and it is again, Ricardo, because politics is something where you have to continue to build discipleship. That the PLP 70 years later is still trying to build discipleship, still trying to recruit new people, still trying to get old people to stay, still trying to make cozy with people that once were and are now on the line about being a progressive liberal party. When you consider the different incarnations of the Democratic National Alliance, and let's please only say their name one more time. Much of that was confusion. Even when, and they've had such wonderful political chances, right? Like when you consider the fact that Loretta Butler Turner snatched power from the hands of Hubert Alexander Minnis, right? We had an independent opposition. That makes no sense. When all we needed to do was invite her to lead the DNA, right? Let's talk about the other leader of the DNA who was even far less magical. There were defecting cabinet ministers, disenfranchised or disconnected members of the Free National Movement, 7 of them sitting on the back bench. All we had to do was offer any one of them the opportunity to lead the DNA. The actual leader could go sit in the Senate, and we just kill the government left, right, and center with what the position of the DNA was. Again, they lack the ability to probe. And that's about all I want to say about the DNA.
Well, let me tell you, you said a mouthful.
Yeah.
Because some things are happening. And the numbers are coming in, and they're coming in very, very quickly now as well. We're seeing the polling division. We got to think about another about 5 left to come in. And so the numbers are adding up. And let's go to the graphic here and see what we've had so far. And there it is. We can tell you that the leader, the West Bahama Bimini constituency by-election at this point is the Progressive Liberal Party, Kingsley Smith, with 1,138 total votes. And he's being challenged by Ricardo Grant of the Free National Movement with 766 votes. And right there, you talked about Lincoln Bain. He's got 245 votes so far for the coalition. And with 25 votes is DeQuan Swain, and also Tennille Burrows has got 4 votes at this point. And that's with the polls that we have that's reported. And so the numbers are increasing, the numbers are moving up. And so we're seeing a bit of a trend to some extent, all right? But there's still more polls to come in, and much can happen in that because we're still waiting on those West End Primary School 1, 2, and 3, which you said you saw the activities down there as well, and also still waiting for Bimini to complete the polling process over there.
I see Kingsley Smith in this polling division was a complete wipeout of the other candidates, but Lincoln Bain, triple digits. You know, that's quite impressive. But based on...
6 pairs are looking really good. I want us to always keep
I'm
in
hoping
mind.
you don't get them, Levon. I'm hoping you don't get that, but you're nearing
Remember,
closer and closer to that goal.
1/3.
1/3.
1/3.
Okay.
1/3.
You're doing well.
Yeah, I like my chances.
But based on the trajectory we're on, it goes back to, well, it not goes back to, it reminds me of something former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram put out into the public on the campaign trail. And it seems to have been an assurance that we may not win this one. And these aren't his words, but just remember, the path elections have been on. They've been one on, one off, one on, one off. So don't believe the hype that the PLP will win. They may win this one, but don't believe the hype that they will win the next, the general election. Do you think is that a good enough assurance? That has been the case for the past several years, PLP, F&M, flip-flopping, but as a voter, I don't think that's what I really want to hear.
Well, whenever I'm not, hanging out with very smart people like you all the time, Makushla, I kind of, like to spend my days in the inner city where there are people that have a different type of brilliance, right? And those are the people that are somehow able to read the tea leaves, right?
Yes.
And when I hang around those people for the first time in a very long time, I hear things like, if the election was called today, they could lose some seat, but boy, the PLP would still be the government.
Hold on a minute, okay? We in turn have polling division number 11 that's reporting in to us right now. This is from Baileytown, Bimini. And the numbers on the screen for you there. Lincoln Bain with 7 votes for the COI. Tennille Burrows didn't get a vote in this particular poll. Ricardo Grant from the Free National Movement with 75. And then also Kingsley Smith with 82 for the Progressive Liberal Party. And DeQuan Swain picking up a vote there in the polling division number 11. That is again at the Zion Baptist Church coming there out of Baileytown in Bimini. So the numbers now favorably moving around for everyone, and so we're seeing some numbers do change. But getting back to your statement about that 5-year scenario, keep in mind that our people as Bahamians are short-tempered. Okay, you do not mess with them. You do not take them for granted and leave them openly and believe that you are a shoo-in. They will show you better than tell you. And so I think that's what we've seen over the duration. You saw when Hubert Ingram won the government and began the process of rectifying the country and then went into the road building scenario you had down there in New Providence, and then the road them dig up and all these other kind of things finished, and then that was the end of that run, okay? And so since then, we have seen our people decide, listen, you only talking. You're not giving me what we need, and so you pay the price.
What I think is slightly different this time, Ricardo, is unlike, because I think you're talking about 2002, 2007, 2012, right? where we had two juggernauts, right, in the person of the Right Honorable Hubert Ingram and the Right Honorable Perry Gladstone Christie. And what you then had was a changing of the guard, right? So you had persons like myself, born in the early 80s. The only prime minister I had ever known was Mr. Ingram. I caught maybe the last 2 weeks of Sir Lyndon being in office. And so, you know, there were people like us that felt a sense of obligation, right, to the Free National Movement, because that was the government that we knew. That was the only leadership that we had seen. And then, of course, there were the older voters who had experienced the glory years of the Progressive Liberal Party and wanted to be true to that. And so it was between the legacy of both parties. In the last two elections, which is 17 and 21, if you remember, up to like the 3-week mark before the election, we were still saying, boy, we ain't sure if Brave could handle it. We ain't sure if Dr. Minnis could handle it. And so I think that mindset alone changes the race a whole lot.
Okay, here we go. This one just coming in, is Polling Division 11A, coming in out of Bimini. Lincoln Bain securing 8 votes for COI. Also, you find Ricardo Grant, the Free National Movement, with 79 votes in this particular polling division. And then Kingsley Smith with 75 for the Progressive Liberal Party. To Neil Burrows and Daquan Swain getting no votes in this particular poll. And again, this is 11A in Baileytown, Bimini. So the decision there is this one very, very close in terms of that. 79 to Ricardo Grant of the Free National Movement, and 75 to Kingsley Smith of the Progressive Liberal Party. And with 8 votes, Lincoln Bain, the coalition, and getting the numbers to get that 6-pack you got on the line.
Despite his results, the results turn out there, Kingsley Smith has clearly distanced himself from the other 4 candidates in terms of the voters. What role do you foresee, if any, Kingsley Smith playing in the Progressive Liberal Party moving ahead should he win? And I think we've done what, 8, 9 polling divisions. He's only, I think that may have been the only 1 or 2 that he's lost out on. Right. So he's on an upward trajectory of winning this by-election. And I say the disclaimer that we still have more polling divisions to go. But like I said, what role, if any, do you see him playing? We don't have a substantive Minister of Social Services following the death of Obi Wilshcombe. So where do you think he will fit in? Will he only, in your mind, will he only serve as the Member of Parliament for West Grand Bahama and Bimini?
The question would then be, why would he need to be anything else? Right now, as it stands, the Cabinet of the Bahamas is as gussie may as get. Albeit, I think they're a functioning cabinet majority, with the exception of 1 or 2 that come very clear to my mind. So there's really no PALSEC space for him, because there are PALSECs pending promotions as we speak. You know, there's really no Minister of State portfolio for him. And of course, unless they're going to make him the Minister of State to Ginger Moxie, and I mean, why? She's doing a phenomenal job down here as the Minister of Grand Bahama, it appears, from my being on the ground and from my interaction with the people. So what would he do? And it might actually be in his best interest to sit out the 3 years and not want to be in the cabinet and accept the role as Member of Parliament, because then he can go out there and begin to work on the title that Obi once had, which was the Champion of the West. Go in the Parliament, understand the party's position, toe the party line, but in the times that your conviction is as strong as you believe they are, or in the times that the people send you to do something, you are able to, as a backbencher, say, listen, and can come with your yellow necktie on. I wear my yellow necktie so you all know I still PLP. Boy, but the people of West End say no. And I think that would bode well and give you an opportunity to...
And he will also, in turn, have a list of items that's been promised to the West Grand Bahama District and Bimini. And so that constituency itself, you know, you'll be able to say, listen, some things are supposed to happen for me, how far along. I need to go back to my people, because remember, I've already said that if I can't do it in 3 years, I ain't coming back to you and ask you no more. So he needs to be asking for the next couple of years. Listen, time flying now.
And Ricardo, the cross of collective responsibility is a heavy one. And sometimes if electability and re-election is your goal, you may not want to carry that cross.
Well, right now, Levon, we're going to throw it live to our Devontae Hanna, who's standing by the Free National Movement headquarters here in the West Grand Bahama and Bimini constituency. Hello? Devontae?
We're standing by with the leader of the opposition, the Honorable Michael Pintard, as well as the candidate, Mr. Ricardo Grant, in this West Grand Bahama Bimini by-election. Mr. Pintard, tonight we're seeing those results coming. What's the mood of the Free National Movement at this time?
First, let me make a statement. I wish to thank all of the residents of West Grand Bahama and Bimini for giving the Free National Movement an opportunity to once again hear the concerns that you have had over the years and to address those issues during the course of this election. We are proud of the candidate that we have put forward, a dynamic Bahamian who we maintain is the best option to provide leadership for this constituency. We want to thank our team, those persons here in Grand Bahama, especially the campaign team in West Grand Bahama and Bimini, who sacrificed a tremendous amount of time, who recognized the need of residents and decided to respond to the call of duty to address those issues. And then to all of our friends throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas who sent well wishes to us and stood with us as we sought to keep this government feet to the fire. Let me serve notice. We will not miss a day in terms of holding this government accountable for the commitments that they made. The commitments they made not only to the people of West Grand Bahama and Bimini, but they've made to all of the Bahamian people. We maintain the results of this election is no reflection on their capacity to govern and their willingness to work on behalf of the Bahamian people. And so I want to say once again, we appreciate all of you who welcome us into your homes. We will not abandon West Grand Bahama and Bimini, as we will not abandon any community in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. The resources of the government was trained on one particular seat, a seat where people are hurting, a seat where people in many ways have been desperate for leadership. And in my view, the government saw through a number of ways, particularly inducements, to come in and to take the might and the machinery of government and train it on this one constituency. But let's look at the result. The numbers do not suggest, based on, one, the turnout. We certainly had an increase in turnout of Free National Movement supporters over 2021, but certainly the government has not gotten an overwhelming endorsement from this community. Significant amount of persons, both FNM and PLP, but to a large extent PLPs, did not show up to vote. So I think the government will go back, as we are going back and reflecting on all of the results as we get them and have a chance to examine them. We believe the government would see that it has an uphill battle, because this community, despite the might of the government, the boast of all the things they said they've accomplished in Grand Bahama and nationally, we do not believe the results reflect the confidence in the government.
Earlier today, the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister made it emphatically clear that they would prefer Kingsley Smith to be elected to help with continuity. Do you feel as though that could have impacted the campaign, the results today?
You said they said they wanted him elected to continue. In fact, what I said earlier is that the Prime Minister threatened the community he essentially made the point that if you give me my candidate, you could expect me to work on your behalf. If you don't, you get what you get. And so I interpreted that as a threat. No, we do not believe that he has the capacity to assist them in any significant way with continuity. O.B. Wilsham, a veteran politician, somebody who has tremendous skills and people skills as well as technical skills, struggled in this seat in the absence of resources from his own party to affect the changes that are necessary. We don't see any possible way Kingsley, with less capacity and a government that is strapped for cash to do ordinary things throughout the country, I don't see how they are going to do anything better with the candidate that has been elected.
Mr. Grant, we want to hear from you, the man of the hour at this time. Any words from you after this campaign for you, after this loss?
My words continue to remain strong and resolved. We have stood this party, the Free National Movement, under the leadership of Michael Pintard, and we have stood strong with our message. We have stood strong with our resources and what we have, bringing it to the table to reassure the citizens of West Grand Bahama that we are with them, and Bimini, that we are with them. We will stand with them. We will press with them. We will continue to make certain that we advocate for them with the issues that matter to them most. And that has been our message. The message has been focus on you. We're going to continue to focus on them because they deserve to be focused upon.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, a short campaign here, but we go now to the 2026 general election. Could we see you coming back as a candidate if you are given that nomination from the party?
Let me say this, if you would have listened to us on the campaign trail, we would have continued to push the message. And one of the message that we have pushed forward, we were saying, no retreat, no surrender. And we mean that from our heart. We are in this for the long haul. This is not a quick run-up just for a seat, just for a seat, just to say you're sitting in a seat. We're talking about representation for people who deserve to be represented. And so with that said, listen, I'm here. We live here. We don't just play here. We live here. And we identify with the issues. We identify with the lack. We identify with the abandonment. We identify with the decay. And we are simply saying is we're not going anywhere. We're going to continue to advocate for those issues and those plights to be heard, keeping this government's feet to the fire and ensuring them to know that our voices will not go away. They brought their full machinery. They brought the full weight of the government here. And you know something, the citizens of West Grand Bahama and Bimini, for the first time, get to see all of their cabinet ministers. And I say to the people, and if any which way they can benefit, fine be it. But the truth be told, that the Free National Movement is about governance. And real governance that matter, that will open doors and cause opportunities that is lifelong lasting for the future of the children and the future of our generations to come.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Grant. Thank you so much to the Afrinam. Again, the Free National...
Well, we're coming to you live from the Progressive Liberal Party's headquarters in Seagrape, where we have just learned that the Progressive Liberal Party has just retained the seat of the late Honorable Obadiah Wilsham. And of course, I am standing in the war room where many of them have gathered to watch and listen to the results. And of course, we are here with the newly elected Member of Parliament for West Grand Bahama and Bimini, Kingsley Smith. And of course, I know this is a big win for you. It's been a lot of work going on for the past several weeks. Your first address as the newly elected Member of Parliament to your supporters.
Thank you. Let me first say that I want to thank the Almighty God for having me in this position I am in today. When the opportunity arose, I went and I thanked and I asked God to guide and lead me during this process. Amen. And so I would have done that, spoken with my family who supported me and friends and all my families. All right? You would have seen that the Prime Minister, all the executives in the PLP party, all the cabinet officers you see standing on the side of me, Mr. Monroe, all of them supported me in this process. And I am very thankful. And first and foremost, all the thank goes to the residents of West Grand Bahama and Bimini. This victory is dedicated to them. This constituency, they believe in the Progressive Liberal Party. They accepted me, they took me in, and they took me as one of their own, even took me as one of their own. And they would have shown me the love and the support that they would have shown the former member of parliament who would have represented this constituency for the past 21 years. And I dedicate this to him, Mr. Wilsham. I dedicate this to those residents who stood by me, we worked hard for the past 3 weeks, very hard. The process is a sprint in 3 weeks. And to see that what we did within those 3 weeks and to pull out the results we did and winning about every poll is a testament to the dedication to these residents that they give to their party, the Progressive Liberal Party. And I am here to carry on, to continue to work, to improve the lives of the residents in this constituency. And so I want to thank them. And I love you guys. I love you guys. I love you. I love you. I love you all. I want you to know I am here to work with you day in, day out. I am from this community. I born, raised, live in this community. Nassau would have borrowed me for the past 4 years. But I am back home, and I want to continue the good work. And again, the support from the top. And, you know, yes, the Deputy Prime Minister was here every step of the way. And I thank them, the Senator, Craig Russell, Minister Clay Sweden, Minister Ginger Moxley, Minister Miles LaRoda, and just to name a few who are here. It showed that they concern us well, not only for their constituency, but the Bahamas at large. And to see that they came on the ground and that they walked, it shows that, again, the Progressive Liberal Party is the party for the people. And listen, there's another election coming in 2026. Look at what is happening. And I ask everybody, and I invite everybody to come on. Join the Progressive Liberal Party. Let's continue to move this country, this constituency, in a positive direction under the leadership of the Right Honorable Philip Brave Davis.
Speaking of which, for those persons that did not support you during this by-election, how do you plan to bridge the gap with them?
Again, my plans are to benefit the whole community. All right? So what I intend to do is put things in place that all will benefit. All right? Yes, we have supporters. Some people support the other side. Some people support the Progressive Liberal Party. That's their constitutional rights. All right? But the plans, once we execute, the plans that we laid out, all will benefit. Simple as that.
And I know you mentioned that the entire cabinet has been on the ground campaigning with you, someone who was new into politics. What did that mean for you?
No, I feel special. I feel special. I feel very special. And somebody would have asked me that question, right? But someone would have said that earlier. But I said, guess what? 2026, I'll be on my own. and so, you know, I just want to thank them. I want to thank them for all the support they would have shown, the confidence they would have shown in me, and I'm willing to work with them moving forward. And even I want to thank this beautiful young lady on the side of me.
Absolutely.
All right? So she would have seen what I've been through for these past few weeks during this process. right? And it is not an easy process, but she was there to comfort me, to help me through it. Also a praying woman. And so I had those prayers throughout the morning, through the night, me through this process. And also again, I just want to thank also my son, Kingsley III, on my side as well. Is a historic moment, all right? And especially for the residents of West End, someone from the son of the soil that is actually representing them in the House of Assembly. So it's big for all of us, and even throughout this West Grand Bahama, because my family stretch further west, deep in the 8 Mile Rock. And so a lot of these people in here this room today are my family. All right, so I'm no stranger to this place.
It's a big win for the PLP, but it's a bigger win for the people of West Grand Bahama Bimini. I want to say a special thank you to the people for believing in us, believing in our message, and believing in Kingsley Smith. We asked the people of West Grand Bahama and Bimini to give us an opportunity to finish the job, and they did, and we are very grateful. I want to say a special congratulations to Kingsley Smith. He is new to this, but I tell you by 2026, he's going to be a veteran. He's going to be ready to walk these streets on his own. On behalf of Prime Minister Davis, on behalf of all of my colleagues of the Cabinet, the Parliamentary Caucus, we're excited tonight. This is a vindication of our policies. It's a validation of our compassion, and really it's confirmation that we're going in the right direction. We're delighted to have some new energy. Yes. Strong shoulders, some strong walking shoes beside us. We will stand with Kingsley as we promised. Yes. We'll stand with the people of West Grand Bahama and Bimini. We heard the struggles. We are grateful that the homes were open to us, and we will not forget the stories we heard, and we will deliver on our promise. So this is a great day. God is good. And all the time? God is good. All right.
Well, there you have it. You've heard from the newly elected Member of Parliament for West Grand Bahama and Bimini, Kingsley Smith. We're now going to go outside where they will address the crowd of supporters who are now outside, and we will come back at that time. But until then, back to you guys in studio.
Well, there you have it, gentlemen. Kingsley Smith has been elected the Member of Parliament for the West Grand Bahama and Bimini constituency, filling the shoes left vacant by Obadiah Volchcom back on September 25th. So, therefore, we end as we begin with numbers, and those numbers in the House of Assembly look the same.
Yeah, yeah. And I heard the, I've said it earlier in the broadcast, I think that the leader of the Free National Movement, if I could call him anything, I think he is a victim of circumstance. I don't even think he understood the job of a concession speech, because I didn't hear it. And those things matter, because you don't want to come out of an election and it appears as though you're sucking sour lime. You heard him say things like
he was the best option.
Or that the government has to worry about why people didn't come out to vote, etc., etc. And anytime people start get into talking about voters that didn't show up to the poll and what those voters would have done, Makushla, I instantly start hearing in my head, Inamina, Josephina, Hua, Tambarina, Akashaka, Bomasaka, baby, because that makes no sense to me. It's no way, unless you have a glass ball, that you could tell me what people that stayed home were gonna do. What matters is that there is a message. Those messages have direction. The direction of the message drove people into the polls, whether it was 6,000 people or 6 people.
Right.
The message was poignant enough to get the 6 people to go into the poll and decide that you're not their guy.
Right.
In the same breath of air, though, I wish to say to the Progressive Liberal Party and the government that there are some things that they have to be on the lookout for. They've won about but certainly
When you finish, y'all can come directly to the podium.
And then there are some other things, like you promised an airport in Bimini, which I don't think has the worst set of airports in the Bahamas, but you have to deliver on that. And you have to remember the small promises that Obi made, right? Because the promises of Obi didn't die with Obi.
Right.
I sat in the church service when Obi Wilcombe said that it was a good idea to name the airport in Bimini after now the late Clarence Ellis, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
How do you ensure that you aren't just keeping the promises that you have recently made, but that you are also still keeping an eye on the promises that were made by a man like Obi Wilcombe, whose word the people have held on to? And so I want the Progressive Liberal Party this evening to go out. I don't know if that is the victory speech by the Deputy Prime Minister. I'm hearing that there will be another speech by the Prime Minister. And I'm looking, Mukushla, for that speech to be one, again, like I said, of humility. One of soberness and sober-mindedness. The campaign is over. He is the Prime Minister. There is still a country to run. Things like murder are still real. And I want him to say to the people of West End, listen, we appreciate the confidence that you've reposed in us. We do not take that lightly. I have showed you how much I respect you by having every member of my cabinet present, not because they aren't busy, not because there aren't things to do, but because I didn't want you to think that in our view and in our mind, you were a little fishing village. I wanted you to understand that you mean the same thing to me as St. Anne's. And so that is why I spent the time. That is why I invested the resources in ensuring that you feel included in the count.
Michael Pintard has made the point that his party must now go into reflection. What do you think that reflection should look like for a party who must now retool its machinery to head into an even bigger battle?
I would be disappointed if it took the by-election of 2023 for you to discover that. I would have assumed that you were in reflection mode since the election of 2021, because there were so many missteps in the administration prior that I would assume that some of the things you were doing were trying to adjust or readjust strategies that you thought worked. And certainly doing away with some of the strategies that we can clearly now see didn't work. What is going to be interesting for me to watch, though, is they've said so many wonderful things about the bishop. He's a great orator, he has the people's heart, he's in the community, he's certainly someone that believes in the message of the party. Then here is a wonderful way for you to prove it to all of us. Here is a wonderful way for him to still champion the cause for the people. Appoint him to the Senate. Appoint him to the Senate. If he's as good an orator as you say he is, if he's as vivacious as you say he is, he should get national headlines. Those same national headlines will most definitely keep the government's foot to the fire. Other than that, all he is clangling cymbal and nobody can hear him. Or he can decide that, I've seen from social media that his church keeps him pretty busy. He might just want to go back and no longer be the Bishop of Bimini and West Grand Bahama and just be the bishop in the Lord's church. But that is a decision that he has to now decide, right? And I think they had a wonderful candidate, right? I didn't always feel that way about Ricardo Grant. As a matter of fact, when he was nominated, I instantly got on the phone with some of my advisors and told them, great, we now have a race that is equivalent to watching gray paint dry on a wall. But he proved to be different. He proved to have the charisma it takes and have the personality it takes. And he takes up space as a candidate. He's not a propped up candidate. He's not somebody that is easily forgotten. then prove that you believe that as a party and appoint him to the Senate.
But he made that point. He said that he intends to continue to work and do what he has to do. And so now the FNM is going to have to abide by that and go with it.
Only one man can make that
Well, we
call.
now go to Azure Quant, who's live in Bimini for a reaction there.
We are coming to you live here in the thick of what's happening here in Bimini. All of the action, as you can see, many of the supporters are out now celebrating what is now Kingsley Smith, the Member of Parliament for West Grand, Bahama, and Bimini. They are definitely excited. But here with me, I have Senator Randy Roll. Senator, how are you feeling?
It's a very exciting time. Certainly the people of Bimini and West Grand Bahama are excited. This is something that we look to finish the work started by our good brother Obi Wilchcombe. So this one was for Obi. The entire team came together. Our leader, under the leadership of Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis. We have an agenda. We have a lot of work to do. We're going to continue with our agenda. Kingsley Smith will take his seat in Parliament, and he's going to do good for the people of West Grand Bahama and Bimini. We are confident and happy about that.
Senator Roll, you are from Bimini. Bimini boy, how does it feel now? What do you think that Kingsley will do now that he has taken seat?
Listen, Kingsley is a young man who has lots of ideas, lots of energy. Certainly the people of Bimini are excited about it. He has a plan, and so we're going to look for him to execute that plan. And certainly we're going to try and touch as many Biminites and people from West Grand Bahama as possible. I'm excited because I know that he's capable, he's ready for the task, and he's going to do very well.
Are you satisfied with how the numbers looked as they were coming in from all of the polling divisions?
Well, certainly, I wanted a little more for us, but we'll take it, a win, certainly. But now, come tomorrow, we're going to get to work, and we're going to continue with our agenda for the people of the Bahamas. They have shown their confidence in the Progressive Liberal Party, and we're going to deliver for the people of West Grand Bahama and Bimini.
Well, there you have it. Senator Roll himself says that the Progressive Liberal Party, the governing party, will deliver for the people of West Grand, Bahama, and Bimini. Again, we are here in the thick of things as they continue to celebrate what they now have as a Member of Parliament for West Grand, Bahama, and Bimini, Kingsley Smith. Back to you guys in Grand Bahama.
Thanks to Azure, who was there with Senator Randy Roll, who's from Bimini, who was working the ground in Bimini with Kingsley Smith. Kingsley Smith, a man who, during his acceptance speech, we can call it, at the PLP headquarters here in Grand Bahama, says he had plans, and when asked in terms of bridging the gap between those who voted for him and those who didn't vote for him, that he has plans for all Bahamians, and that's what you want to hear from a member-elect, a person who has just been elected to represent your views. Now, whether that will translate over the next 2 years, well, that's left to be seen. But it sounds good that he's now inclusive and not only looking out. You want to hear that even though you're aligned with a certain party, your views aren't. Your views in terms of your interest in getting things done, it's for all Bahamians.
Yeah, and it takes a level of political maturity. Again, persons like yourself and myself who are used to Nassau living, we live in communities where sometimes you don't see people for 6 and 8 and 9 and 10 months. That's not the same in these smaller communities, right? Rick proved to us right here on this set that all you need to do is give him the house number and he could tell you who live inside it. Those small, and I'm going to colloquially say, fishing villages where the man goes to sea and catches a conch and sells the conch to the woman that cooks the conch, who then sells the conch snack to the child that buys the conch, that goes to the school right up the road. When you have communities that are that small, right, you have to have the kind of maturity where you can look someone in the eye, know beyond a reasonable shadow of a doubt that they did not support you and may have even said very, very, very mean things about you on the campaign trail, and understand that yours is now a national responsibility. Yours is now a responsibility that is bigger than whatever your personal feeling or personality is, and that you have an obligation to ensure a better life and way for those persons.
We got a live shot here coming out of the Sea Grape area where the celebration is taking place. Kingsley Smith sitting there and having himself. To us, and the numbers are continuing to come in as the for Progressive Liberal Party as having a party down there in the Western District, and they're having a party as well in Bimini as they celebrate winning the by-election. A very short period in terms of campaigning, but the ability itself for everyone to do exceptionally well. And I want to say congratulations. You can see there the numbers that we have so far. And again, tomorrow there's going to be a recount, and they have to sign off on all the documents and everything else, and make sure that it is official. And then that information, again, will be released, and so that folks will know what the numbers are and how the polling division came. But then again, we've seen where again, low voter turnout was the matter of the day. Like Levon said earlier, he went down, he moved around, he didn't see the numbers. A lot of folks went into the polls early this morning, as we found out from our reporters. It was on the beat. They went out early, got it over with, so that by the 12 o'clock hour, that was completed. But for the most part, the numbers themselves have shown that the Progressive Liberal Party will have the seat in the House of Assembly when it convenes, and when he is sworn in as a member of Parliament for West Grand Bahama and Bimini. And so he's got a lot of work, and he knows he has a lot of work, and like he said, point blank, he has a plan, and that plan is to take care of all of West Grand Bahama and Bimini. And even those who did not support him, he still will have to work with them, because the plan is to make that constituency better, and to also continue in the vein that Obadiah Wilchcombe left, and to continue the mission. That government dock down there in West End is going to be important. We heard that they're going to try to do something with the airport that's there in West End, and then in Bimini, they're going to be redoing and working on a lot of the roads and the airport and other structural issues there. So we'll have to see how that is going to work out. And so that's where we are at this point.
Well, I suspect Rick, he is, I mean, you know, you replace a guy like Obi Wilchcombe, you want to be in the cabinet. You know, I am not exactly a complete fan of someone coming in from a by-election in a family island seat like West End, having to relocate their entire lives back to the family island they came from, and then going into the cabinet. I mean, life in cabinet is busying, right? And sometimes you can become a rock star in cabinet, and your finger slips from the pulse of what's really going on with the people that will elect you. And so it's a very delicate dance. He doesn't have the long game to play. He doesn't have the luxury of 5 years like Obi would have had he not met his demise. He has a sprint to the finish, right? So he's had the very short run in the by-election. He's going to have the very short window of being the Member of Parliament for about 2 years, because by the time as we get to the 24-month mark, we'll be turning the bend, and it'll be time to go back to the polls again. And so we'll see what that last year in governance looks like. And so, you know, if he gets into the cabinet, my bet is Minister of State for Grand Bahama, quite possibly with an opportunity to understudy and shadow a minister that is a novice politician, but that is certainly turning out to be a superstar in the cabinet, right? In the person of Ginger Moxie, who, and again, I say publicly, Ricardo, I don't have a problem with repentance, right? I repent. There was a time that I didn't think Ginger could pull it off. There was a time that I wasn't sure that her allegiances would be in the right place. I had actually publicly said before that Ginger Moxie was a horse, And quite frankly, Grand Bahama needed an ass to fix its problems. It needed someone that was blunt and stubborn, and I wasn't sure if she had what it took. But she's proven that she does, and Kingsley Smith may be a wonderful addition to that.
And she has now taken the bull by the horn, and so we're seeing some things going. But we're now going to send it to New Providence. The Prime Minister is about to address the nation on the win in the West Grand Bahama and Bimini constituency by Kingsley Smith. Let's go to New Providence and the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Barbara. Say when. PLPs! 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 Let me say good evening to everyone. What a night. What a night. First and foremost, I want to thank the people of West Grand Bahama and Bimini. Who once again showed their support for the PLP and for administration. I want to thank them for that vote of confidence for us to continue with what we started. We are so very grateful to you for engaging with us, listening to us, and continuing to give us your support. Thank you. Huge thanks as well to the many members and supporters of the Progressive Liberal Party who worked so hard to secure this victory. This success may not have come without the early mornings, the long days, and the late-night effort you put into the campaign, and I thank you. We took nothing for granted. We were determined to work as hard as we always do to secure the best representation for the people. The hard work has paid off. It's a good feeling. We wanted to win to honor the memory of Obi. We especially wanted to win because we wanted a representative who shared our vision for the people of the constituency. And now we can continue forward with that vision. Once again, we say thank you. The campaign gave us an opportunity to reconnect with the people in West Grand Bahama and Bimini in a much deeper way. We've already done a lot of things on these islands, but there's still lots more to do. People invited us into their homes. We heard their stories. We saw many of the challenges they are facing and dealing with. There's a comfort in knowing that many of the seeds we have planted in Grand Bahama and Bimini will bring significant new opportunities for the residents in Grand Bahama and Bimini. New investments and upgrades to infrastructure will make a real difference. But in the meantime, life is still far too challenging for too many. It's on this, and it's on us, to make sure that we deliver relief farther and wider. I repeat that all of us in this administration and our supporters will appreciate. It's on us to make sure that we deliver relief farther and wider. The same thing is true around the country. The economy is growing, but recovery and growth haven't reached everyone yet. We know how much work there is to do. Finally, I say a huge thank you to our candidate, Kingsley Smith, as he steps to carry the baton for the people of West Grand Bahama and Bimini. Kingsley Smith was our man and our choice. And we congratulate him on sprinting successfully through a campaign which none of us expected. Congratulations, Kingsley, on a job well done. Being a member of Parliament is a great privilege, and with it comes great responsibility. The people have placed their trust and confidence in you, Kingsley, and I have every confidence that you will deliver for them. So, friends, tonight we celebrate. It's a victory for Kingsley Smith and the Progressive Liberal Party, but it's also a victory for the Bahamas. As you can see from the many candidates and parties vying in this election, Bahamians have demonstrated once again that our democracy is in good shape. God has truly blessed our Bahama land. Now, after the celebrations tonight, tomorrow, we'll be right up bright and early, because it's time to get back to work. I want to thank you all very much for coming, and to the Bahamian people, thank you very much. So, PLPs? PLPs? That's PLPs? PLPs. Thank you all very much. Questions? Yes. Questions?
Prime Minister.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Candy.
The numbers still need to be analyzed, and that obviously will take some time, but the voter turnout seems to be pretty low. What message do you think that sends, if any, to the parties, and what do you think accounts for that?
That our democracy is well and alive. In a democracy, you have the choice to cast a ballot or not choice a ballot. And that's the constituents' constitutional right to decide whether they can participate or not. We encourage participation, but if they choose not to, that's their democratic right. So turnout really isn't an issue for me. The issue for me is that I turned out my voters and I won. We turned out our voters. We encouraged our voters to come out and they voted. It was their job to get their voters out. And it's our job always to encourage participation. But yet again, as I said, it is a democratic right for anyone. It's part of democracy. You could decide to vote or not vote. Stay home if you wish. And that is what my answer to that.
The opposition party brought out the big guns. Their theme generally was this theme of PLP neglect of the constituency. What message then do you think the voters sent to the opposition party that had this message throughout the campaign?
Yeah, I think the message that the voters sent to the FNM is that they still have confidence in this administration. Two, they rejected the notion that it was the PLP that neglected them. But I dare say, and may say, that there was neglect. Right? What they realized is that this leader, this administration, has only been in for 2 years. They saw some movement. They had hope in us that we will not neglect them and that we will deliver on what we said we will do. And I think, and that is my mantra. As I said, and I reminded my colleagues, we must bring relief in the shortest possible time to those people of West End and Grand Bahama.
Yes, What was your personal reaction to these vote buying claims from the opposition leader?
Well, my reaction to that was...
Did the PLP buy votes in this election?
No, not the PLP. We did not buy votes. My reaction to that was that they were laying the basis for the victory that we were going to have. They saw quite some time ago that they were not going to win. They knew that they were not going to win. So they have to have a response to why they lost. And it's, sometimes human nature drives us to conjure up excuses for why things would not go the way we want to. They knew it was not going to go the way they wanted to, but yet still. So they laid the basis. And I think as the days and months go along, you'll continue to hear them talking about that. But I want them to talk with the person who's now in custody about buying votes.
One follow-up question, please. Lloyd Allen from ZNS.
Who?
Lloyd Allen from
Yes.
ZNS. In regards to the people of Grand Bahama, obviously it's been a difficult road economically for them. Now that they have a new representative, what can they expect now?
Well, they could expect that we will deliver on those things that we have done. We are working assiduously to ensure that we bring relief to those people in West Grand Bahama. So, for example, they have to go to Grand Bahama for a lot of into Freeport to access a lot of services. But one of the things we've just done is to open up an administrative complex to bring services into the community, so they won't have to go to Freeport anymore. Right? There are other things that we're hoping to bring into the community itself, which we hope will spur further activities. And working assiduously on one or two interest in developing a West End Grand Bahama as a marine center, airport we're hoping to get. So we are doing things to revitalize that community.
And then finally, of course,
we can take one more question.
Ginger Moxie was appointed responsible for the tech hub initiative 242 in Grand Bahama. Can you speak to responsibilities that are now pending for the new minister?
New minister.
Is there a role for Kingsley Smith in your administration?
There will be a role. There will be a role, and you'll hear about it in due course.
Coming soon.
Thank the people of West Grand Bahama and
And we've just heard the official address by the Prime Minister, Honorable Philip Brave Davis, in regards to the win by Kingsley Smith for the Progressive Liberal Party and securing the West Grand Bahama and Bimini seat. You would have heard the Prime Minister spoke to the fact that democracy is alive and well, and so those folks who decided to vote got their votes counted, and those who didn't, that's a different story. He also said that he is quite confident in the way the PLP has now orchestrated the win and will move forward. And Levan, I know for the most part, we were talking about having Kingsley utilized in some way down the line, and the Prime Minister wouldn't say, but he said in due time, some things will be sorted out.
I think if the Prime Minister has done nothing, Rick, over the last 2 years, he certainly has evolved more and more every day into a formidable force, and so he isn't as easy to trip down these days as we suspected or anticipated he would be when he spent some time in opposition. He doesn't have as many faux pas, if you will. I thought he answered the question masterfully from Ms. Kendia Dames, who we know is synonymous with asking very difficult questions, or questions that could easily get you, in rough territory. But the Prime Minister quite ably stated, democracy is a beautiful mess, and when you give people the power to choose, you cannot choose their choices. And if the choice is to stay home, then the people are very well within their right to do just that. And we've said it here on this campaign, whether it was 6,000 people or 6 people, what was more important was the message direction potent enough to get however many people that would go into the polls to actually pick your message? Was the candidate believable enough to get however many people went into the poll to believe your candidate? And, you know, there's so many questions that can be asked now in retrospect. You know, the Free National Movement is in fact the opposition. They in fact have senators that are presently at a national level. Did they pick the best candidate? You know what I mean? Should they have gone with somebody with a bit more national acclaim? You know, or was the focus on you message one that resonated well enough? Were the things that they campaigned on, like the administrative building that took 8 years, or like the school that took 7 years, was that something that still leaves, you know, a bitter taste in the mouth of residents? You know, because if you say it took 7 years and 4 of those years were yours, then who exactly should I be mad at, right? Because that would mean it started under the PLP and stalemated under you, and now you anticipate that the PLP will come back and finish it. And the question also is for the FNM is, does the FNM look like the FNM that folks once knew and once remembered? Is this the 92 FNM that was responsible for the creation of all sorts of new industries, etc., including broadcasting, etc.? Is this the 97? Or have you moved so far away from what you once were that people no longer recognize you? And so I thought the Prime Minister's answer was delightfully wonderful. We gave the people the choice. The people exercised every choice possible. One of those choices were to stay home. In the instances where they didn't stay home, we provided them with a message. If you check the numbers, the people chose our message. And I think nothing can be more beautiful a mess than watching a democracy work full steam.
And also he made a very good point, the fact that party tonight, all right, which they are doing right now, and they're in Seagrave, we're having a wonderful time, and do what you have to do. But there is work ahead of us tomorrow.
Indeed.
And so I believe that now the whole gambit as far as moving forward and living up to these obligations now will be very, very important for the Progressive Liberal Party, and to make sure that they deliver on a number of these initiatives, not just here in Grand Bahama, but those initiatives in the country that has to be now looked to and go from there. The attention has been on West Grand Bahama Bimini for the past couple of weeks. Now the attention is now going to be, yes, we have you, we're going to take care of you. Kingsley Smith is our man. He will be the person to keep us on the ground and keep us focused on what's going on. Then we now look at moving the Commonwealth of the Bahamas in the right direction. For every Bahamian.
What I thought was also interesting on the campaign trail, Rick, was much of the message wasn't about policy or whether people disagreed with the governance or whether people disagreed with. I think the only issue that ever came up, and it was from Mr. Ingram that I can completely hold on to, was the fact that the Progressive Liberal Party went up or adjusted VAT, and that affected, you know, baby food and bread basket items, right? But a lot of what I heard on the campaign trail, whether it was from Michael Pintard or whether it was from Pakeisha Parker or whether it was from Shannon Don Cartwright, was a message of a poor economy. We went into the houses, mold was growing on the sheetrocks, people's roofs are still unrepaired. You know, Dorian has happened since 19? But people are still living in hardship, right? Again, some of that period was under the auspices of the Free National Movement.
Agreed.
Who had a sitting cabinet minister in the person of Pakeisha Parker. So then you listen deeper into the message, and what you hear is a lot of the things that we promised on the campaign trail is nice, but I think what must now be the stimuli or this behind the Progressive Liberal Party's thrust toward 2026. After winning the West End and Grand Bahama, West End and Bimini seat, after seeing the hardship of the people, is how do we stimulate the economy of Grand Bahama so that the residents aren't looking for the government to fix their roof? How do we stimulate the economy so the residents aren't looking for me to change their sheetrock? How do we stimulate the economy of the Bahamas so the residents aren't standing on the grocery lines with social service cards that have no funding on it? And I think that is the bigger question. That is the question that the Prime Minister must answer. And what I would love to say in this moment is I'm very happy that he has Michael Alcides in the room with him, because that is the guy who ultimately can figure out how to get money into the hands of people.
Well, there you have it. The results that we've received, unofficial overall results thus far. There you can see that Kingsley Smith totals some 2,150 votes compared to Ricardo Grant, who recorded 1,076 votes. And right behind with 307 votes, and look at your six-pack is still in order. It's Lincoln Bain of the coalition. And with 28 votes is Daquan Swain. And then Danielle Burrows with some 4 votes. And there it is right there, folks. 2,150 for Kingsley Smith. And then Ricardo Grant, 1,276. Lincoln Bain, 307. Daquan Swain, 28. And Danielle Burrows, 4. And again, the official count will be tomorrow. They will actually go back at the ballots and then double check them again and then sign off on the documentation that goes in to the registrar, and so that things are done properly, and then we will end up going from there. But you made a very, very good point about the economic process. During the opening of that complex, the Obadiah Wilshcombe complex in 8 Mile Rock, Kirk Russell said he definitely is looking at that, and in terms of taking care of that community and taking care of much of things in terms of how that's going to work. Okay. Also, we do have Ramiko Knowles, who is over there as well. He's standing by with us. He's down there celebrating in the 8 Mile Rock district in West Grand Bahama and Bimini. And let's see what Ramiko has for us. Ramiko, I know the noise is loud.
At Sea Grape headquarters here in 8 Mile Rock, the Progressive Liberal Party, of course, we've heard from the nation's leader, we've heard from the Deputy Prime Minister, and of course we've heard from the newly elected Member of Parliament for West Grand Bahama and Bimini, unofficially at this time, but still, nonetheless, the newly elected member, Kingsley Smith, who has given his thanks to the voters of West Grand Bahama and Bimini. I'm standing by with one of them, not from Bimini, but...
I'm one of those supporters who came from Nassau. I'm from the great constituency of Yamacraw and the men's branch of the PLP. And so we saw it really critically important for us to be here, to be a part of this process, because what we saw here tonight is indicative not just of the powerful leadership of Kingsley, but also the powerful leadership of our Prime Minister. And I think what he said earlier when he spoke to the needs in the community was very significant, because I saw him go door to door, and he was able to become familiar with the needs, the pain of members of this constituency. And so we believe great things are going to happen.
For you, how important is it for you to see your Member of Parliament and the person representing the constituency to have a relationship with his constituents?
Yes, I think that's very important. And I think Kingsley represents, because he's from here, and his engagement during the campaign trail is indicative. I traveled with Kingsley a few months ago to Long Island, and what they have gotten is one of our most hardest worker within the party. Very engaged, very involved in what he does, and believes sincerely in working and fighting for people.
Now I know you're supporting him, but did you think that he was going to win by such a large margin tonight?
Oh, I expected nothing less. I expected nothing less, because the win speaks to not just Kingsley, but the leadership of the PLP over the last 2 years. It's an indication of where we're going to be in 2026.
And what is expected of him now?
Well, listen here, his job has just begun, because many of the issues that exist within this community that I witnessed during my walkabout, he now has a lot of work to do, and I think with the government support, we can get it done. But it's not going to happen overnight. There must be a sustained effort in terms of meeting the needs of these constituents in this constituency, West End and Bimini, including Bimini. We spend time in Bimini as well, and there is significant need among the people, but the PLP is up to it. That's what we are good at, reaching and impacting every person, wiping tears
tears from every eyes.
Absolutely. There you have it. Passionate supporters for Kingsley Smith, not even from Grand Bahama or West Grand Bahama, but traveling all the way from New Providence to ensure that he is here to witness the victory for Kingsley Smith. Now, I see my good friend here, who told me that he brought out the war hat early today, and you're wearing the war hat now. What did this mean to you today?
This was victory. When used to be put on my Warrior PLP hat, it's all winning. And this is a great win for Bimini and West End especially on the PLP.
Now, you were also one of those passionate supporters traveling to the convention and now back in Grand Bahama. When you looked at the voter turnout, well, the votes that they came in today, did you expect them to win by such a large margin?
Man, from the day I told them we're supposed to win by 650, when we came close. And the people have spoken, and they've spoken clear. It's still PLP today, and PLP all the way.
There you have it. Once again, we're live on the ground in Sea Grape at the Progressive Liberal Party's headquarters. And just take a look around. As you can see, persons are here. They're enjoying themselves. This is now a victory celebration for the newly elected Member of Parliament for West Grand Bahama and Bimini, Kingsley Smith. And I'm standing by with another supporter, decked out in all of his colors tonight. Tell us your name.
My name is Godfrey Edstrom. My proud PLP is on the outside.
Of course, you heard the results. What do you think about Kingsley Smith?
Kingsley Smith is the best candidate they picked to run in the West End constituency. And he would be a very good representative.
Are you from West Grand Bahama?
No, I'm in Freeport.
But you made sure you East End.
Yes.
All the way from East End traveling to West to support him tonight.
Right, all the way. PLP, all the way.
Right next to the tent.
Tell us one thing. Why was it so important for you to be here to make sure that he recognizes that he has support not only from West Grand Bahama, but also from those from East End and Freeport?
Right, from East End, Freeport. In fact, he has support from the whole island of Grand Bahama, also Bimini, and the whole Bahamas.
Well, thank you so much. Once again, it's now a victory celebration here at the Sea Grape Grounds, the PLP headquarters. And as you can see, persons are just having a great time at this point. They're dancing, they're celebrating, they're enjoying a few libations. And of course, this is 8 Mile Rock, and so it's the home of hospitality. Many of the persons here are enjoying themselves. And here we go now. We have another supporter who is here. Huge win for Kingsley Smith tonight.
Yes, we're so proud of Kingsley Smith. I mean, he's a humble person. He's not arrogant. He did everything in his ability to just keep it straight to the point that he's focused on the people. He ain't focused on no other candidate. And we are well pleased by that. And we, tonight, we congratulate him.
Absolutely. Are you from West Grand Bahama, or you are too someone who traveled from Freeport to support him tonight?
I'm from West Grand Bahama. I'm a strong supporter of the PLP government and their values and their goal. And we did support Kingsley hugely today.
I also noticed in the polling divisions that some of those divisions that were not considered strong PLP divisions came out strong for him tonight. What do you think about that?
I think about it this way. The message is clear. It's one love. We're continuing the government objective in contrast to another government that's saying focus on you. So when the other government say focus on you, we're trying to figure out which person should we focus on. Is it them or is it us?
Okay, well, there you have it. As I mentioned, again, it is a celebration here at the Sea Grape Grounds in 8 Mile Rock, where the supporters have gathered to show their love and appreciation for the newly elected Member of Parliament for West Grand Bahama, Kingsley Smith. The Progressive Liberal Party has retained the seat of the late Honorable Obadiah Wilscombe. Back to you guys in studio.
Thank you very much, Ramiko. And I tell you, the parties are going to be many throughout the country. In New Providence, they are partying, and even there in 8 Mile Rock, they are partying as well. And I tell you, it has indeed been a very, very long day for our team, and seeing how the numbers are now in with Kingsley Smith winning the West Grand Bahama and Bimini seat. Levan, I like the fact that now that this is over, sunrise tomorrow at 6 o'clock, we can now begin the process of regaining our families and continue on with our lives.
Well, you know, a by-election is always an interesting thing. You know, it's the way we do our politics, right? Like, you know, you hear them saying it's wartime. I bring out my war hat, and Bahamians, my goodness, Bahamians take their politics so serious that you don't want to get in the middle of that. Mother and son today, I witnessed. Mother and son today coming to the poll. You know, someone asked Mama, who she voting for? She say, I voting for the FNM. Her son that she hasn't told. She said, I don't know what Mommy talking about, but I voting for the PLP. And that is again the beautiful mess that a democracy is, you know what I mean? And it's wonderful to see that here in the Bahamas, right, whether 47%, I think the number is, of the percent of the voters turn out, even in that 47%, you will find that there are people that didn't participate in the process for whatever their reason was, will still come out here this evening and either show their support for the person that is now the Member of Parliament for West End and Grand Bahama. There will be persons that opposed him who will still be here
right there
this evening.
Right.
So it shows that there is that even in our tribalism, right, even in our wartime mindset, Bahamians, after they have exercised their right to have a choice, still choose to all be Bahamians. And that, for me, Rick, is a beautiful thing.
All we Bahamian, there you go. Well, let me tell you, Levan, thank you for all of the information that has been presented to us, and I know you'll get your six-pack, and you make sure to see Brando Stewart before you leave to go back down to the Providence.
Yeah.
And we want to thank you for tuning in with us tonight. Also, Bakushla Pinda, who goes in there, and so we want to say to you that it's been great. We want to thank all of our team, our reporters who have been out from early this morning and late into the evening, and then also the technical team that's been out there. It's been a unique scenario, even with Ash over there in Bimini. It's been a very, very long process for it, but our job here at the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas and ZNS is to make sure you get it and get it correctly, and that's what we've been done for you tonight. And for Brother Miller here, come January, folks, he's going to be having a new program here on the network, politically unique, Unleash.
Yeah.
You ready for that run?
It's ZNS like you've never seen it before. That's what it is.
Tease it, man. Tease it.
It's Unleashed with Levan Miller. ZNS like you've never seen it before.
Okay. Well, Levan gonna have some things that you need to see. So get through the Junkanoo season. Get it out your system. Make sure you're ready to go, because come January.
I want to tell you this, Rick. You know, today I let the little green man whisper in my ear, right? And I did the one thing that is almost as tribalistic as our politics. I decided to go outside in a Valley Boy t-shirt. Someone said to me, someone says to me, this is how I know you're a PLP, because you're a Valley Boy.
Boy,
I don't know how they tie these things together.
We'll get you in. I'm going to get you in trouble. Well, on behalf of the entire team here in Grand Bahama and in New Providence, Lloyd knows there, and everyone who has been a part of our broadcast and making this whole exercise from we started with nomination day, and here we are with election day. This has been a fantastic event for us and a wonderful project. I'm going to make him a bushwhacker for life. I'm Ricardo Lightboard. On that note, we're out of here from Grand Bahama, and have a wonderful evening. Congratulations to the Member of Parliament, the now elect for West Grand Bahama and Bimini, and that is Kingsley Smith. I'm Ricardo. He's
Levan Miller.
And I'm going. Bye.
In 1953, the United States began using a female name for storms. And by 1978, both male and female names were used to identify northern Pacific storms. This was then adopted in 1979 for storms in the Atlantic Basin. The National Hurricane Center does not control the naming of tropical storms. Instead, there is a strict procedure established by the World's Meteorological Organization for Atlantic hurricanes. There is a list of male and female names which are used on a 6-year rotation. The only time that there is